Hello. Welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. If you want more content, you can follow me on Patreon. I will be uploading more content on there that will be exclusive. The link is in the description. Please support me. 5 Fu. 101. Awakening of Phantom Beasts. Why not Logia? 1/5. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The rewards of the gold list, except for Kizaru's supreme sword, are a bit of a boost for us. The remaining random devil fruits are useless at all, they are all paramesha and zone. Sengoku shook his head, not agreeing with Suru Vice Admiral's point of view. Although it is said that there is no rubbish devil fruit, there is only rubbish demon fruit power. But, ordinary zone and paramesha, are really rubbish. Unless it is developed to the level of awakening, everyone present knows how difficult it is to awaken. There are only a handful of people in this world who can develop to the level of awakening, and it is even more likely that none of zone has reached the level of awakening. Of course, except for the jailer beasts that were brought out by the science troops in Impel Down. There is a chance to awaken in this sea, but 500 may be the 4 Emperors Kaido. But the other party is a phantom beast, and there may be a big difference from the ordinary zone. The main thing is, there is no precedent for zone and Logia awakening in this world. This is also the fundamental reason why Sengoku shook his head helplessly. Compared with the new force of more than 200,000 Marines, this increase in combat power is too far behind. That's right, Sengoku, your analysis does make sense. Crane Vice Admiral nodded, just when everyone nodded, feeling that Sengoku's analysis made sense. Crane Vice Admiral spoke again and pulled their thoughts away. But, have you forgotten? The Knights of the Round Table are going to war with Kaido. 1 inch. Who is the most troublesome of the 4 emperors? Is it the redhead who has no military strength and sets the elite line and is called the Iron Wall Pirates by the world? Or the Whitebeard Pirates who are approaching their twilight years? Advertisement. Or the Big Mom Pirates who suffer from cravings and often lose control? At this moment, Crane Vice Admiral spoke eloquently. Voice down. Like a bolt from the blue, Japanese awakens the dreamer. That's right, in fact, this sea can make us marine, and the most feared pirate is Kaido. Not only is that guy at the peak of strength, but the strength of his subordinates is also full of phantom beasts. And the forces under his command are also very large, most of them are demon fruit power. Except that the other party's brain is a little bad, and he often does some reckless things. Kaido is the most dangerous pirate to our marine. Aokiji looked serious and agreed. After being reminded by he Vice Admiral, he also reacted. Marine wishes 3 admirals, except for Kizaru, Aokiji and Akainu are all existences with both IQ and style. And yet, he had just finished speaking. He was interrupted by Sengoku shaking his head. That guy Kaido doesn't want to be as reckless as he appears on the surface. His wisdom is not inferior to mine. Those titles are just the impression that Kaido doesn't want the world to see the truth. Sengoku looked serious and shook his head. As he has fought against Kaido several times, he doesn't agree with the idea that Kaido is a reckless man. However, Xiao He, you are right. If Kaido is successfully defeated by the Knights of the Round Table, the pressure on our marine will be much less. Sengoku let out a breath slowly, agreeing with Crane's point of view. I just don't know if Kaido, that guy, has completed the awakening of devil fruit. Advertisement. Garp clicked his ears at this moment, and interjected a rare word. With years of marine experience, he naturally has an understanding of Kaido's abilities. His intuition told him that the guy named Kaido was not simple. I knew forbearance when I was in the Rocks Pirates, and I even got a phantom beast after the Battle of the Valley of the Gods. After so many years, that guy might. Awakening of phantom beasts. That's absolutely impossible, isn't there any precedent? If you complete the awakening, won't you be on the gold list? If what you said is true, there are too many prerequisites. Is Im's level, or catch up to the Knights of the Round Table? The only zone awakening only exists in Impel Down, the awakening aided by foreign objects. Sengoku shook his head, even though he was cautious, he could not agree with him at the moment. She can't even imagine it. What level would that be? Haki, his physical training, is simply blessed. Garp sighed, and then grabbed a snack and ate it, obviously not wanting to delve into this topic. If the phantom beasts awaken, we can't underestimate every guy at the 4 emperors level. I'm afraid that only Bigmom Linlin can reach his level in this sea. Well, that guy doesn't know which race of monster it is. The difficulty of this is definitely more difficult than Conqueror's Entanglement, Armed Color Entanglement, etc. Advertisement. As for the ancient species, I have never heard of precedents. The most important thing is that we have to develop our underlying strength. To know the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, she was also there, although she did not contribute much. 0. Now I'm afraid it has faintly reached the level of Baihu 5.4, or even Roger's level. In addition, each phantom beast has a characteristic, and some of them even surpass Logia in strength. Aren't they all on the gold list? Crane Vice Admiral waved his hand, interrupting everyone. At that time, Kaido, who didn't eat the phantom beast, could parry Garp. Now if devil fruit awakens, Is there such a coincidence? Decades have passed, and they have not awakened. And the difficulty of devil fruit's awakening is very high, only Paramesha is recorded in history. Okay, there's no need to delve into the strength of the four emperors. But so many years have passed, that frizzy guy back then. That will definitely be on the list, on top of Garp. The former Marshal Kong couldn't help it at this time, and said with emotion. When Garp heard this, he knew that he was worrying too much, and then he was emotional again. Crane Vice Admiral shook his head in disbelief. Not to mention the phantom beasts whose strength is above them. Awakened at this time. First of all, Kaido is not on the gold list. If he wakes up, it will be in these few days. The phantom beast itself is stronger than the Paramesha Ancient and Normal Zone. Garp, you worry too much. 102. The self-improving marine, the knights whose identity was revealed 2/5. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. So, how about handing in the gold list rewards you have obtained? The voice fell. The audience was shocked, although those rewards are a bit redundant for strong people like them. Ah, I can use my supreme sharp knife, right? I'm also good at swordsmanship. Kizaru was surprised when he heard this. There are only 12 knives in the world. He doesn't want to give Sengoku the assignment. I can do it, but it's useless to keep it anyway. But Sengoku, you have to give me a raise, I'm almost finished eating the national food. Garp sniffed his nose with disdain, as if devil fruit was worth less than a bag of snacks in his eyes. I don't care either. It's of no use to me. Aokiji looked serious, without the slightest hesitation. The old man can also hand it in. Fujitora smiled and shook his head, obviously not bothered. Well, first of all, thank you for your decision. As a marshal, I am very touched. In the past few days, please pay attention to the 20 suitable successors in Marine. As long as we make reasonable use of the rewards issued by the gold list, we may not have a chance to rise again in the future. The following talent list. If our Marine ranks more on the list, we still have a big advantage. Sengoku smiled and summed it up. But, advertisement. It's not even close to that Mubai guy. Garp cut in at this inopportune moment. The atmosphere that had just been eased suddenly fell to the bottom again. Mubai, an existence that they have never heard of before, and that they have never seen. Firmly seated at the top of the combat power list, there are at least 4 forces under his command. And they are all on the list. Such an existence covering the sky with one hand is the enemy of their marine. The haze brought to them by the Summit War has not completely dissipated at this moment. That Six Paths Obito's terrifying combat power and sense of oppression is still unforgettable at this moment. This shadow may even haunt everyone for a lifetime. Cultivate hard. Haven't we realized our own weakness until now? Only Garp can survive a few tricks under the opponent's hands. We couldn't even touch each other. Sengoku looked bitter, recalling the scene where he was easily knocked away by Obito earlier. Not at the same level at all, he used his big move to rush forward, and others would send him flying with a random blow and block. Okay. Aokiji nodded solemnly. At this time, Yanran is about to take over as the marshal. Although he believes in lazy justice. But the premise of laziness requires the support of absolute strength. Without the support of strength, try to improve yourself. His armament Haki and knowledgeable color still have a lot of room for improvement. Although devil fruit has entered the bottleneck, he can't relax. Old man, I was too proud a few days ago. It seems that the old man still has a long way to go. Fujitora smiled and nodded solemnly. Advertisement. A wandering man, he has long been used to crushing those pirates with his strength. Now after the battle with Akatsuki, his sense of urgency arises spontaneously. His room for improvement, compared to Aokiji, is greater. Whether it is swordsmanship, Haki, devil fruit, he is all-round practice. He is a proper hexagonal fighter, no matter what kind of promotion brings him is huge. Just because he is top-notch in all aspects, a breakthrough will bring about a qualitative change. Ahem, old man, forget it. Now that the old man has obtained the supreme sharp knife, it is already a huge improvement. Kizaru saw that everyone was full of energy, so he hurriedly expressed his attitude. He doesn't want to practice, he can just hang around with Marine Admiral's salary. Forget it, I'm special, you know. I'd better go bask in my sun. Seeing this, the Green Bull also shook his head, extremely resisting. Sengoku shook his head helplessly. But he also knows that the Green Bull is special, and the biggest improvement is devil fruit. And Huang Yuan, he really has nothing to do with him. In this case, let's open this battle memory first. Disband. Sengoku smiled, and these strong men began to seriously examine their own strength. It allowed him to regain his confidence again, and the haze about the Shao organization in his heart slowly dissipated. Even his old bones. I have the idea of recultivation. Meanwhile Wano-kuni, inside the general's mansion of the country of flowers. At this time, Artoria Yanran had finished watching the exposure of the gold list. Know the identity of Denjiro. Advertisement. Jinbang's evaluation can't be wrong, let him go, Gawen. Artoria ordered. Yes. Gawen didn't hesitate. With a bang, the sword was sheathed again. Gawen. Are you the Knights of the Round Table? Denjiro's eyes lit up, although it was a question sentence. But his tone was very certain. 150 inches. Oh. Why did you say that? Artoria raised the corners of her mouth, feeling curious. Wano is a closed country. Now under the rule of Kaido and Orochi, there is almost no possibility of outsiders entering this land. In addition to the strength you revealed, Wano does not have such a strong player in my database. And, I just heard that you have been calling each other Gawen, so I feel familiar. To sum up, you are King Arthur and the Sun Knight on the gold list. Denjiro spoke eloquently, expressing the inferences in his heart. I feel a little strange in my heart. He who has been paying close attention to Wano naturally knows about the declaration of war between the Knights of the Round Table and Kaido. But according to Mrs. Kazuki's prophecy, the time for the Great War hasn't come yet, has it? You're quite smart, it seems that you have indeed grown up. As Kaido's enemy, you have some effect on us. And you have been dormant for so many years, you must have mastered a lot of newspapers, right? Artoria showed all her face and stared fiercely at the other party. Even if the opponent is Kaido who is not on the power list, she will not underestimate her opponent. 103. Angry Artoria, Julie of Relief 3/5. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Yes, I still trust you very much. I can see the monarchy in you. And you must be a monarch who loves his people. Denjiro smiled after hearing this, without any wariness. On the one hand, it is because of Jinbang's introduction to the Knights of the Round Table, and on the other hand, it is Artoria's angry attitude towards Kurozumi Orochi. Wano is an extremely xenophobic country, and has not joined the world government. Wano ally is only Zou, but in recent years, because Kaido has ruled Wano the alliance is useless. Duke Inuarashi of Zou and Boss Mamushi are born from the 9 heroes of the Red Sheath, and they hold Kaido very much. Denjiro was about to continue talking. Artoria interrupted suddenly. It goes without saying about the history, our Knights of the Round Table have also investigated it. You can focus on sharing the information in Wano Although we control the capital of flowers, we still don't know anything about the other islands. Controlled the capital of flowers. Kazuki Hiyori on the side, known as Xiaozi, opened his mouth wide in horror. Unknowingly, I have completely controlled the most prosperous flower capital in Wano This. How exactly? Your Excellency's actions are really swift and fierce. Denjiro was deeply moved when he heard it, and even bypassed his information. Ha ha. Thanks to that little guy, Ayu, we were able to quickly get started with Flower City. Artoria waved her hand and said modestly. Advertisement. Ayu. Denjiro was a little puzzled, but he didn't ask any more questions. At this time, he took out a chapter map from his pocket. Spread out on the ground. Wano is a special area. There is no coast of the open sea, and there are only cliffs and waterfalls around it. After going up, there is the inland sea, and the inland sea has the main island of Wano and the island of ghosts. The main island is divided into 6 areas, namely, Julie, Exame, Tuin, Belle Queen, White Dance, City of Flowers. And Ghost Island is Kaido's site. There are heavily guarded, impenetrable. There are powerful givers, Fei Lubao, who has the potential to become the 3 major Kanban boards, and Kaido's 3 disasters Jack, Quinn, and Jin. Among them, the 3 disasters are their strongest combat power, each strength. Even now, it surpasses me and the Red Sheath 9 heroes by a lot. When Denjiro said this, his complexion suddenly became solemn. We do know something about Ghost Island and Flower City. I went to Onishima before and issued a letter of war to Kaido, and Ayu, the capital of flowers, told us in detail. What about the island? Artoria heard this and stroked her forehead with a headache. This complex terrain instantly made her feel dizzy. Kuri, the hometown of Kazuki Oden, is now in ruins. But the general terrain remains the same. This is the top of the hill, the building under the hill can be called Oden Castle, and the place near the sea is Date Port. The center of Utian City is called Beluo Town. On the left and right are Jonlu Village and Libyan Village. When Oden was around, Guri was Wano paradise. Advertisement. But now, there are corpses everywhere, and the poor are all over the place, and they all have a full meal, and there is no next meal. Denjiro gestured on the map with his fingers, and the slight trembling of his fingers meant that his heart was not at peace. Most of the money he spent as a bodyguard also turned into the 3 ugly boys, to support Julie at night. Corpse everywhere. Kazuki Hiyori, go and collect some of Kurozumi's wealth. Distributed to the Julie area. Artoria's complexion was also extremely dark, and she couldn't bear to see it. Grown-ups. Kazuki Hiyori was surprised when he heard this, and then directly bowed down. Little girl is for all the refugees in Wano thank you for your mercy. Denjiro also had a horrified expression at the same time, and then he knelt down on one knee, his expression couldn't stop being grateful. Get up, isn't it the right thing to do? I can't see the country's citizens being so miserable. Kazuki Hiyori, if you really appreciate me, hurry up and do what I ordered. Artoria motioned for the other party to get up, and shook her head as if she didn't care about the treasures. After the words fell, Kazuki Hiyori got up directly and acted vigorously. Although she is Wano-kuni's geisha, she is not weak at all. My lord, this is Bell Queen, and no one lives on the island there. This is called the Northern Cemetery, and it can also be called Guini. Wano-kuni's dead samurai are buried there with their katana swords. The daimyo there was Shimotsuki Ushimaru, who failed to acknowledge General Kurozumi's competence and was imprisoned in Onijima. I don't know whether I will live or die now. Advertisement. Having said this, Denjiro's tone was a little heavy again. Northern Cemetery. Most of Odin's retainers are buried there. What about here? It's closer to Ghost Island. As a strategic location, it is very suitable. At this moment, Artoria pointed to the map and her eyes were full. As the leader, he saw the key point at a glance. This is Rabbit Bowl, which is managed by the daimyo Ugetsu Tempura. Actually, this island can also be called Kaido's territory. There is Wang Wang's, the largest prison in Wano-kuni, the prisoner quarry. Most of the prisoners are people who oppose Kaido's rule. When Denjiro said this, his eyes dimmed again. Endless sadness welled up in my heart, but almost all the martyrs were caught there. Kawamatsu, Hana no soldiers Guro. They have all suffered nearly 20 years of suffering and torture. What's the name of this port? If we attack Onijima, starting from here is a good strategic point, right? Artoria ignored the other party's emotions. Compared with taking care of the other party's emotions, mastering information was her priority. Here, it seems that Your Excellency also has a lot of insight into commanding and leading troops. This port is called Changying Port. Denjiro's eyes lit up, and his tone of voice was a bit awkward when he said this. 104. Saber. Ghost Island. I am alone enough to flatten 4/5. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It's a big port, convenient for large-scale troop dispatch. I guess this is why Kaido set up a prison here. Denjiro stroked his chin and analyzed it. Gawen, we should take this island as soon as possible. Artoria nodded in agreement. On the one hand, because of the good location of the island. The second is the prisoner quarry. According to Denjiro, almost all the prisoners are innocent people. It's just that Kaido imprisoned them for his own self-interest. This is not a human rights practice, she scoffed at it. Take it. After hearing this, Denjiro suddenly raised his head in surprise. It's a place heavily guarded by Kaido, and even Quinn from the Three Plagues is always stationed there. Do you want to break through such a territory? It is almost tantamount to starting a war in advance. If there is a big movement in the Rabbit Bowl, Kaido will definitely find out the clues and come to support. Your Excellency, this island is Kaido's heart and soul. As soon as there is any trouble, the other party can get the information as soon as possible. I think we should give priority to taking the other islands. Finally considering the Rabbit Bowl. Denjiro's expression was eager, expressing the worry in his heart. Also, what about the remaining islands? What's the situation, now? Artoria gestured with her eyes, and Gawen, who was about to leave, stopped and asked aloud. The remaining two are Exame and Baiwu. Advertisement. White Mai was under the jurisdiction of Shimotsuki Yasui, but it's not anymore. Because of Kurozumi Orochi and Kaido, he had to live in seclusion. However, he still has great influence in Baiwu. As long as we find the opponent to match our combat power, we can easily win Baiwu. Baiwu is also a bustling town, centered on God of Wealth Town. The lives of the villagers here are much better than others. And these two ports are also good strategic locations, Renwu Port and Submerged Port. Denjiro paused when he said this, and looked at Artoria. Because after these conversations, he already knew that the other party was the existence of Grandmaster Bing Dao. He guessed that the other party must have something to say at this time. Okay. This location is KCB Port, right? It has a wide wharf similar to that of USAG Wantone Shadow Port. And this port is farther away from Oni Island than Changying Port. The three outer islands are 9 miles away, no bowls, no dances. If you want to break fast, this white dance is more suitable. Artoria's eyes lit up, and she looked at the place where the other party pointed. That's right. So if there is a war with Kaido, the next suggestion is to deploy the combat power in Julie, Tuin and Baiwu near the sea. If a battle breaks out like this, Nozomi, Bell Queen and Flower City behind the three islands can avoid the spread of the battle. Denjiro nodded in agreement, and gave another suggestion. He naturally hopes that the Knights of the Round Table will go to Onigashima to fight against Kaido. If the battlefield is set on Onijima accidentally, the approved Wano-kuni people will definitely be implicated. This is not what he wants to see. Well, it is true that these three islands must be controlled. Advertisement. However, let's forget about the deployment of combat power. I left in a hurry, so I brought Gawen here this time. Artoria nodded and looked at the other party appreciatively. Okay. 2 people. Denjiro's pupils constricted after listening. The brain crashes immediately. 2 people crusade Kaido's entire force. What kind of eyes do you have, 4 emperors? It's enough for me alone. The reason why I brought Gawen is also because his head is brighter. By the way, bring a guy who is easy to handle. Artoria didn't care about Gawen's face at all, and waved her hand to signal Denjiro to relax. In the past few years, I have accumulated some people, which can help you 5 times. In the face of absolute strength, any advantage in numbers will no longer exist. Forehead. And he is a well-known bandit leader in Julie, and he has a lot of powerful troops under his command. Denjiro spoke carefully, so that the other party could understand clearly. That guy Kaido not only has a lot of troops, but he is also good at fighting protracted battles. And I managed to persuade the boy Ashura from 9 miles to serve your excellency. He and I are both Red Sheath 9 heroes. Dragged to death. You must know that no matter how strong an individual is, it cannot be compared to a large number of people, but they will be consumed to death. At first glance, it doesn't look like the sense of sight that can resist the siege of the opponent. You won't need it against Kaido, but you do need someone on the other side to have complete control over Wano Kuni. You are still hiding on the island, it is too dangerous to follow us. Advertisement. And you can just hold the rear. If fighting breaks out, the remaining Kaido forces on the island will definitely show their feet. Artoria showed disdain and said proudly. But before he could speak, he was interrupted again. If your excellency breaks through the Rabbit Bowl prison, there will be 2 strong forces inside. And maybe you can convince the people in the prison to work for us. Seeing the other party's refusal, Denjiro immediately became anxious. Take control of the other islands of Wano Kuni, and hand over the Rabbit Bowl's prison to Gawen. And also, Denjiro, I have a task for you. I accept your kindness, but let me refuse. Denjiro looked at Artoria's pale face and thin body. At that time, your excellency will most likely be dragged to Ghost Island. But one thing is certain is that the opponent is definitely not an ordinary person, and she will not even be able to take into account the reinforcements like Denjiro when the time comes. Denjiro wanted to say something more. Such a simple truth, don't you understand? Kawamatsu and Hanaguro. Kawamatsu and I are both the 9 heroes of the Red Sheath, and Hanaguro is the famous swordsman of Wano Kuni. How can this work? Artoria shook her head and laughed, although she didn't know Kaido's strength very well. In this case, Julie, Tuan and Baiwu's battle lines are enough to resist. But, Kai Lai vaguely reminded, at that time, you still need to clear the payment. Artoria waved her hand and interrupted her. 105. Top 3. The revived Golden Lion Shiki, 5/5. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Very well then, Honorable Artoria King Arthur. Denjiro sighed in his heart, and finally chose to compromise. Then he set off and left the general's mansion. He is also looking forward to the upcoming Wano Kuni battle. The Knights of the Round Table who were on the gold list brought him unlimited self-confidence. Even if Mrs. Shi's prophecy time has not come, but the top 10 on the gold list versus the last Kaido who can't even make it to the gold list. That's not easy. You must know that in the previous Summit War, only 4 players were on the list, and even Nagato was still under Garp. The Akatsuki organization can sweep the Navy, Army. There is no possibility of defeating this at all. One Piece world, somewhere in a remote tree forest. Mubai, who was adapting to Haki's ability, was slightly taken aback. 20% progress. He muttered suspiciously, and a system panel that only he could see popped up in front of Mubai. Knights of the Round Table, the quest progress has been updated to 20%. Mubai stroked his chin, lost in thought. This increase in progress seems to be a lot of progress. Shouldn't it be only 20 if you win Onijima? You should at least win the capital of flowers, right? If my guess is correct, as long as Wano Kuni is fully controlled, the progress of the Knights of the Round Table mission will be completed. At that time, I will be able to receive the reward for the first faction mission. It's exciting to think about it. Mubai raised his mouth and murmured, then raised his hand to disperse the panel. Adapted again to the top conquerors Haki from gold list. At the same time, the gold list above the sky. Glittering golden. Advertisement. Continuing from the previous article, this issue's list, extra episode actor list top 5 to 10 P1. The third place in the actor list. Legendary Pirate, Golden Lion Shiki. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket comment. Use your life to perform, the highest state of an actor, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket get top 3 rewards. Wonkwon resurrected and restored to peak, close black lens bracket. With the opening of the prologue. This time, whether it's male, female, young or old, or a pirate marine. They all put down the busy work in their hands, and stopped in place in a daze. For a moment, the whole world seemed to be at a standstill. This moment, as if time is not passing. Shocking. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Shocking. Wait until the emotions are crazily sweeping the entire sea. No one can escape, just because the exposure on the gold list this time is too explosive. Legendary Pirate Golden Lion. Didn't that guy hear the body was found in East Blue a while ago? Can the dead be on the list? This is a precedent. And what is even more exaggerated is the reward of the gold list. The resurrection of Huang Quan. And restore the combat power of the peak period. This is really outrageous enough. You must know that the Golden Lion is an existence in Roger's era that can be on an equal footing with Roger. The resurrection of this guy at its peak will have no different impact on the world than the resurrection of Roger. How can this keep them from being shocked and scared? New world, on the ocean 5,000 kilometers away from Wano. The red-haired group all looked at each other in blank dismay at this moment, unable to speak for a long time. At this time, they seemed to have lost the ability to speak. Advertisement. One by one, their brains shut down, standing on the deck like puppets. My eyes are not blooming, are they? The one on it is, the Golden Lion. At this time, Lajalu's chicken leg Yanran fell to the ground, but he didn't know it. He just raised his head and stared blankly at the preface of the gold list above the sky. Not only the dead are on the list, also rewarded with the ability to resurrect. Usopp said in a daze, his face full of disbelief. After that, he rubbed his eyes frantically, repeatedly confirming the words on the gold list. That guy Golden Lion is the first to list dead people. This guy is resurrected and is still at his peak. Now the situation in the sea is in danger, his resurrection at this time is absolutely harmless. The red-haired Shanks has a serious complexion and a lot of thoughts in his heart. As Roger, who has followed the ship since he was very young, he is naturally no stranger to the Golden Lion. Zero looking for flowers. They often fight pirates, if it is not for Roger's good luck, they have saved themselves from danger many times. I'm afraid his red hair has long since died. Such an existence, return to the peak form and resurrect. Golden Lion in peak form. It is an absolute disaster for this world. The top swordsman of the two swords style, the top conqueror's Haki, plus the lion fruit developed to ultimate. Who else in this sea can stop him? Beckman also had no intention of smoking at this time, and stifled the cigar in his mouth. Beckman, you said that the peak Golden Lion, if it is the combat power list. How many people can be ranked? While the red-haired thought was heavy, he was also curious. Advertisement. At least 18, 19. Without any hesitation, Beckman gave his opinion without even thinking about it. According to his judgment, the combat power of Golden Lion and Garp is almost the same. He really deserves such a high position, at his peak. But, isn't it too unnatural for Golden Lion to be on the actor list? At this moment, the redhead suddenly realized that Golden Lion was not on the serious list this time. Surprised. Elder brother, don't talk about second brother, okay. Captain, haven't you been on this list too? Usopp was a little helpless, and reminded him. Ah. That's it. If you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten. Whoever said that the list of actors is not a serious list? Didn't you see that all the people on the list are strong? The redhead scratched his head and let out a ha-ha. If Jinbang has the ability to resurrect, then does it represent that legend? It may also be resurrected. Beckman was not affected by the crowd's noise, and thought of the key point. Legend. Lajalu was taken aback. You mean? The red-haired pupils shrank suddenly. The thoughts in my heart were instantly aroused. You're talking about Roger. Yes, I said rocks. Almost at the same time, the redhead and Beckman spoke at the same time. Inch. 106. Golden Lion Resurrection. Catch to have a baby, seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Forehead. It's all possible. After all, the gold list has exposed 2 lists, and the talent list will soon be exposed. There is a high probability that there are still many lists. Beckman lit his cigar and expressed his analysis. My heart is also heavy. Since the golden list came into the world has become more and more chaotic. Everything deviates from their cognition. Haha, the gold list has a resurrection reward. It seems that I have to work hard to see if I can revive Captain Roger. I must be very happy to live to see my ideals being fulfilled. The corners of the red-haired mouth split, and he was fascinated. Then he waved his hand. Little ones, to celebrate the resurrection of the Golden Lion. Let's have a banquet. 27. The voice fell, and everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. Celebrating the resurrection of the Golden Lion. This excuse is too lame. But the banquet. Okay, banquet. Beckman stroked his forehead helplessly, and also entered the cabin to get drinks. New World, Moby Dick. Dad, that Golden Lion guy is actually on the list. It really broke the precedent. As expected of him, the legendary great pirate, Golden Lion. Advertisement. Marco was doing his usual inspection of Whitebeard's body. Okay, Shiki at his peak, that guy is tough. Whitebeard's complexion was also extremely serious. That guy is a total monster. Back in the Rocks era, that guy came out on top. Is the right hand of Rocks. Golden Lion. Shiki. Dad, who are you talking about? Ace became curious when he heard the emotion of the two. Even Dad is so cautious, this guy named Golden Lion is definitely a big pirate. But he never heard of it. It's normal if you haven't heard of Ace. After all, that guy has been dormant since Impel Down. Not active in this sea anymore. Joe smiled and explained. As the first to follow the boat, he naturally knows more than Ace. Jailbreak. From that place. After hearing this, Ace was shocked. You must know that he has personally experienced the guards of Impel Down. Layers of checkpoints are set up, plus the guards of the two strong men, Shiryu of the Rain and Magellan. Is the jailbreak successful in this case? Ace's eyes were glazed over, and his mind was full of thoughts. You must know that when he was in Impel Down, but he was tightly locked by the sea stone, and it took a lot of effort to move. Well, the other party cut off the legs tied with sea stone and escaped. Foil Vista is also showing his eyes at this time, and strikes up a conversation. I can't help the frenzy in my heart. Advertisement. With the resurrection of the Golden Lion, endless fighting spirit surged in his heart instantly. He didn't really enjoy himself in the previous summit war against Hawkeye. The top swordsman of the double knife style. It must be very good as an opponent. As his voice fell, Ace's mind was like thunder on the ground. Cut off your own legs. In an instant, he simulated in his mind whether he could escape if it was him. But then he shook his head again. Even if you cut off your legs, you can get rid of Seastone's suppression. But, without his legs, he couldn't escape Magellan's guards. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. Once again, he realized his own weakness. Ace, you don't have to be too discouraged. That guy Golden Lion's Devil Fruit ability is quite special. Lion Fruit, even if it loses its legs, it still has high mobility. Coupled with Haki, who is tyrannical by himself, it is not difficult for him to escape from prison. Whitebeard saw what was going on in Ace's heart, and comforted him aloud. And Shiki is no ordinary pirate. He was a great pirate in the last era, as famous as me and Roger. If it wasn't for his strength not being enough to support his ambition, I am afraid that the current world pattern will change. Whitebeard's eyes flashed the color of memory. You have the same name as Roger, Daddy. While the Rocks guy was on the boat, he refused to have a baby with his mother, who was weak at the time. Ace raised his head suddenly, his face was horrified. The aunt's face was frosty, and she was talking to herself. As his words fell, everyone present looked at each other in blank dismay, their faces horrified. At this moment, they didn't dare to offend the aunt, and they all looked at the ground in fear. At this time, Charlotte's eldest son made a mental calculation to remind her aloud. Charlotte twitched a trace of cruelty at the corner of Linlin's mouth. Advertisement. Grab some talented men to marry and force them to have children with her. Anger suddenly rose in Bigmom's heart, and he roared. Although he has never met the Golden Lion, Ace Yanran has a deep understanding of the opponent's strength at this moment. The ant at this moment has an incomparably gloomy complexion. If you are refusing, I don't mind letting you return to your homeland in 4.1. Why isn't my mother on the list? What a powerful existence that would be. Peak resurrection. Voice down. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. The old lady endured. Golden Lion and Big Mom's child. An angry ant will deny her relatives. Everyone didn't dare to look at the ant, and became even more flustered. I'm afraid it's not easy for us to start. Everyone looked at the ant in the main seat with fear on their faces. Damn, Roger doesn't have a cold at all, but he can be as famous as his father Whitebeard. Point 0. They did not doubt the authenticity of what the ant said. This is the usual style of the ant. There is no place for you in this sea now. Now. Peak condition. Humph. That guy Shiki got such a good reward. New World, the Big Mom pirates who are returning to Cake Island. Mom, the other party is a lion fruit capable user. I'm afraid even Katakuri can't catch up with this kind of talent. In the past few decades, my mother's strength is not comparable. The entire Charlotte family was actually established by this method. 107. Rolling, the powerful ability of the Golden Lion. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It's not easy to start. When the talent list falls, the gifted children I gave birth to will be rewarded with the gold list. Who else in this sea can be my opponent? Charlotte and Linlin looked disdainful, and didn't take Golden Lion seriously. At the same time, the projection of the gold list above the sky finally kicked off. At this moment, there are ruins on the screen, except for the yellow sand, which is waste soil. The strong wind whipped up bursts of yellow fog. As the camera moves, a man with golden hair like a lion's mane appears in the picture. Standing with arms folded on a stone tower. At this moment, the corners of his mouth were raised, and he didn't say anything, but the aura around him involuntarily radiated out. Through the screen, everyone can feel the strength of the man in front of them. On the opposite side of the Golden Lion, there is a group of people standing, a group of familiar people. Straw Hat Pirates. Golden Retriever, you bastard. I will beat you to the ground. Luffy's expression was extremely serious, and he opened his mouth to drink. The hatred he had accumulated over the past 20 years made him completely explode, and he couldn't help but rushed forward after the words fell. If you can hit me, try it. Golden Lion stabbed the prosthetic limb made of sword into the soil, showing disdain. When the provocation started, what he was facing at this moment was just a group of young boys who had just set out to sea. And he is the legendary great pirate, the man who once almost ruled the whole world. Luffy, who was running, became even more angry when he heard this. The power of devil fruit is activated instantly. His body stretched suddenly, grabbing the top of the stone tower, the foot of the golden lion. Rubber sickle. Advertisement. With an angry roar, Luffy grabbed the stone tower with one hand, and quickly approached the opponent relying on the shrinking rubber. With one hand stretched, he waved fiercely towards the golden lion. Kill, Firebird Star. At the same time, Usopp hit the predicted slingshot, roaring out like the firebird of the Flame Phoenix. Sealed off the golden lion's takeoff path. Humph. Golden Lion saw the opponent's joint offensive. Without the slightest nervousness or timidity, he jumped up gently. First dodged Luffy's attack, then ducked in the air to avoid the Firebird's attack. Everything happened too fast. Golden Lion dodged all attacks in a blink of an eye. However, before he could heave a sigh of relief, a loud drink passed into his ears. He turned his head abruptly. 72 knives trouble wind. Zoro hit, the blade unsheathed, and the whole person suddenly spun. Swipe swipe, accompanied by the sound of Dao Dao resounding out of thin air. The three-sword energy roared out, pointing directly at the golden lion who had nowhere to dodge in the air. You want to use this kind of pediatric trick against me? Are you looking down on me too much? Faced with this murderous and wanton sword aura, Golden Lion's expression did not show the slightest panic. The corners of his mouth grinned, mocking. Afterwards, both feet suddenly spread out in the air. Clang, accompanied by the sound of swords resounding. All Zoro's sword energy was turned into legs by him, and the two famous Jonlushi and Muku bounced away. He was about to continue to taunt, when a voice behind him dispelled his thoughts. Wrist strength strengthened. Carved hoof Sakura Fubuki. Chopper's lovely voice sounded at this moment. Advertisement. As soon as the words fell, his palm struck Golden Lion's back as quickly as a bullet. However, Golden Lion endured Chopper's attack, but didn't even bother to look back. Muscle kick. Sanji also seized the timing at this time. He jumped high and kicked the Golden Lion's face fiercely. But, the big hand has been fiercely blocking in front of his feet. It's a really good team. It can make me want to show some real skills, isn't it really good? Golden Lion blocked Sanji's kick, the corners of his mouth raised, and he praised. Voice down. The Straw Hat crew who launched the group attack felt tense in their hearts. In the face of their combo skills, this guy actually dodged all of them, or blocked them. Now I still have the time to open my mouth to praise them. This moment, they Yanran had a new understanding of each other's strength. Sanji, whose legs and feet were caught by the Golden Lion, his pupils couldn't stop shrinking. Now that I've said it, I'm going to use my real skills. Then let's start with you. Golden Lion grinned and drank heavily. Then grab Sanji's hand and shake it away. Rocket. All of a sudden, the ground shook. Humph. In his line of sight, the eyes of the Straw Hats and the others were filled with endless fighting spirit. His moves are down. The gap in our strength is like heaven and earth. Everyone, get out of here. Advertisement. The wind blows everywhere, and the yellow sand rolls like a tornado. The whole land seemed to be under a strong traction, it began to crack uncontrollably, and it was booming. Golden Lion's complexion became gloomy. Once or twice he can accept it. Get rid of you altogether, okay. It's useless. Luffy held the stone tower with both hands, and the person pulled it far away. Chopper shrank his pupils and exclaimed loudly. Then an arm was born, and the palm was pulled upwards hard. Think you can be evenly matched with me? He couldn't help but wonder. It's just a newborn calf pirate, why dare to show such eyes to me? He already faintly had anger. It's so troublesome. Look at you. Without looking back, I felt the whistling wind behind me. Golden Lion shook his head and sighed. Seriously, look at him. The same Sanji was able to escape and fell to the ground with Luffy. Like a human slingshot. Just when he was about to attack Sanji, the situation changed. Don't be pulled into the sky by clouds. Accompanied by the floating of a gravel. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. Golden Lion stimulates the power of lion fruit, adjusts its body in the air, and easily avoids the surprise attack of 910 Luffy. A trace of cruelty was drawn from the corner of Golden Lion's mouth, and he drank loudly. Seeing that Sanji was in danger, he also let go of the stone tower. Immediately, a reaction force brought him madly towards the direction of the Golden Lion. Golden Lion turned around and looked at Straw Hat crew with a puzzled expression. But now this group of people is like Xiaoqiang from Immune to Death. What annoying bugs. 108. The underestimated Golden Lion, the combat power above Roger, please order in full. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Suddenly. Uprooted clods condense into shape. That is a ferocious giant earth lion without claws. This. Quote. Sanji. Zoro's pupils shrank at the call. Then jump up high. As a fellow shipmate, Sanji already understood Zoro's intentions without Zoro needing to say much. Zoro is trying to kick him and send him to the height of the Golden Lion in the sky. Stop the Golden Lion from further urging the power of Devil Fruit. Sanji didn't hesitate too much, and jumped up high. Air Force power kick. Then he kicked Zoro hard in the air, raising his figure hundreds of meters again. Thanks, Cook. Feeling the power under his feet, Zoro grinned. Kill, Atlas. At the same time, Usopp is also playing Nirvana. 3 gunpowder blasted out, pointing directly at the Golden Lion. It was well aimed, but it didn't work for me. Golden Lion looked disdainful, and then dived suddenly. Boom, boom. Explosions resounded. Kakuzu didn't even touch the Golden Lion's clothes. 3 swords style, Gyuki Yugwa. Zoro's eyes lit up now, grasping the emptiness. But, advertisement. Clang. In the face of absolute strength, any surprise attack is unreasonable. Golden Lion raised his foot to parry easily. You juniors are not even worth killing. Golden Lion looked at Zoro and mocked. Then slowly raise your arms. Then in Zoro's pupils, a fist gradually enlarged. Drink. Zoro eats and drinks lightly. Then it fell to the ground like a shell. Boom, boom. Like a meteorite strike, Zoro is directly sunken hundreds of meters underground. The loud impact is deafening. This impact, together with the clods of soil, directly shattered and splashed. Zoro. Pipe pipe exclamation mark quote. Seeing this, Luffy shrank her pupils and cried out worriedly. Although Zoro's physique is very strong, but this blow physically hit the ground, directly overturning the ground. The earth was shaking even more, even he felt that he was almost unable to stand still. Just one punch. With such power, he couldn't help worrying about Zoro's safety. Thinking of this, the anger in his heart suddenly rose. Raise your fist to your mouth. 3. Block. But, just when he was about to bite, the sky was full of yellow sand, and the clods of soil were overwhelming and pressed down on them. He didn't even have time to change his shape, and he was crushed by this mighty force like a natural disaster. Advertisement. Submerged. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. The screen plays here. The people who were watching the projection finally couldn't hold back their amazement. This. What kind of power is this? Even Shock Fruit's Whitebeard can't do it. Is this the strength of the legendary pirate Golden Lion? And it's just a Golden Lion who broke his legs in his later years. Dry. This is the power of the end of the world. Control the clods and drown the opponent. This is a sandstorm. Worse than a sandstorm. Well, you must know that the gravity fruit of Marine Admiral Fujitora is just the lower fruit of Golden Lion. The fruit of Fujitora was in the Summit War, forcibly digging a deep hole in the sea. As a high-ranking fruit, the lion fruit can even set off the entire sea and use it for him. New World, G1 New Naval Headquarters. There is a meeting at the moment. In this way, the handover of the position of Marshal is carried out. But when the projection screen reached this point, everyone present stopped what they were doing. Staring up at the sky in a daze. Is this really the power that humans can have? The green bull raised his head, his eyes were dull, and he murmured. There are mixed feelings in my heart. I thought Whitebeard and Shao organization were a minority. But the exposure of Golden Lion's strength made him feel the insignificance of his own strength once again. Okay. Golden Lion. His strength may be higher than Roger's. Sengoku looked solemn, expressing the guess in his heart. As he once fought with Golden Lion, he has a deeper understanding of strength than everyone present. That is an existence whose strength is above him. What? Advertisement. Above Roger. Isn't Roger the One Piece? Aokiji listened with disbelief on his face. The reason why he feels incredible is because, since the Golden Lion is stronger than Roger, why is the title of One Piece not the Golden Lion? This is obviously illogical, right? What? Those things may be too long for you. But Sengoku is right. At this moment, Garp became unusually serious. Why? The old man has also heard about Roger's deeds. After becoming Marine Admiral, I have learned about some powerful existences such as Shin Mi, Roger, etc. If they don't surrender themselves. Maybe still alive now, we can't even catch the mighty Roger. Why was the Golden Lion arrested? Fujitora smiled and couldn't help being curious, and asked aloud. Golden Lion is the perfect successor to the Rocks. Before the Roger era, it was the Rocks era when pirates were at their peak. The Rocks were invincible back then, for the money, and the only one who was close to the Rocks was Golden Lion Shiki. After Rocks died, Golden Lion wanted to recruit Roger to fulfill his dream of dominating the world. But Roger refused, and the Battle of Atwal broke out. That stop would have been a one-sided battle. Sengoku paused when he said this, took a sip of the tea on the table, and moistened his throat. But, the desperate Roger pirates were rescued by a sudden storm, and most of the large fleet of the flying pirates was driven into the bottom of the sea. In that accident, the rudder was unfortunately stuck on Golden Lion's head. Pulling out the rudder by force would be life-threatening, so the rudder is still embedded in the head. It was also because of the rudder that the Golden Lion lost Haki's ability. But even so, his personal strength can still be on par with Roger. 109. Destroy half of Marineford with the power of only one person, please order in full. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Losing Haki's ability. Can you still be on par with Roger in terms of combat power? Impossible. Fujitora smiled, his closed eyes suddenly opened in shock, revealing the whites of his eyes. Haki is one of the necessary skills for the strong, and it is also the embodiment of the strength of the strong. Can't even be strong without Haki. And Golden Lion, who has lost Haki's ability, is as powerful as Roger. How exactly? He tries to bring himself in, even if he is omnipotent in Devil Fruit, swordsmanship, and Haki. If he loses Haki, he will immediately fall out of the threshold of the top powerhouse. He's telling the truth. You needn't be suspicious, Fujitora Admiral. You must know that the Devil Fruit of Golden Lion is your gravity fruit, the high-ranking fruit. And his swordsmanship is also above yours. And he's a top-notch swordsman of the dual knife style. Garp looked heavy and explained it to Fujitora with a smile. As the lion fruit, the fruit I ate, the superior fruit. Fujitora smiled when he heard this, his face was dull. There was a huge wave in his heart, and he knew the power of the gravity fruit clearly in his heart. He can even override gravity into outer space and pull down meteorites. Such a mighty fruit. Just Golden Lion's lower fruit 490. Double knife top swordsman, plus lion fruit. That might indeed be possible. Fujitora smiled and shook his head with a wry smile. He thought the gravity fruit was the strongest fruit in the world. Even shock fruit, phantom beast, logia, etc. Advertisement. He didn't pay attention to it. But until the exposure of the origin of Golden Lion fruit. His cognition was refreshed. At this moment, the first fruit in his mind changed from gravity fruit to lion fruit. Golden Lion's swordsmanship, is it stronger or weaker than Hawkeye's? At this time, Aokiji suddenly asked a question that everyone was extremely curious about. Compared to Hawkeye, Garp and Sengoku, who had fought the Golden Lion, were all taken aback. In terms of swordsmanship, the two of them don't know anything. This, I don't know, but I feel that there should be no difference between the two of them in terms of kendo. Don't give in too much. Garp wasn't sure. Maybe Golden Lion should be stronger, he is a dual swordsman after all, and has some advantages. Sengoku shook his head and also gave his own opinion. Is Hawkeye strong? Known as the world's #1 swordsman. But looking at the entire sea, there are countless strong men with swords. Who dares to claim the strongest? 5 Elders has a guy who has a first-generation ghost. Imco also uses a sword. Redhead Shanks, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Roger, Big Mom. Ryoma Samurai of Wano Kuni, Odin and more. Even Kaido's mace. They can all be regarded as strong swordsmen, but their styles are very different. Without a real competition, Hawkeye's status as the world's #1 swordsman is actually unreal. Of course, that guy Hawkeye does have a strong swordsmanship. Can you compete with Roger just by relying on one-handed swordsmanship and the power of Devil Fruit? Even if it is as powerful as a lion fruit, it can't compare to Roger, right? Advertisement. Aokiji was still confused when he heard this. He remembered that Roger had a saber, and he must be a master of swordsmanship. Coupled with the tyrannical Haki, it must be above the Golden Lion's combat power. Don't doubt. Over 20 years ago, Sengoku and I fought the Golden Lion. All Marines, against him alone. Naval Headquarters Marineford was reduced to ruins, and more than half of the Marines died. It's enough to take down the opponent. Garp shook his head, confirming again. To this day, he is also very moved by the opponent's strength. Kaj. It should be said that he is the right-hand man of the rocks. Okay. At that time, Garp and I were at their peak. It also took several days and nights to take down the Golden Lion whose brain was stuck in the rudder. And, to this day, I still doubt. The opponent doesn't seem to be losing to me and Garp. The other party seems to be. Speaking of this, Sengoku's complexion suddenly became heavy. Every time he thinks of the speculation in his heart, cold sweat can't stop dripping down his forehead. The other party seems to be deliberately caught by me and Garp. Sengoku let out a long breath, he will finally say the whole thing. Voice down. All the people present stood up abruptly. Like being hit by a bolt from the blue, all of them stared at Sengoku with their mouths wide open. Appalling. Advertisement. Outrageous. Unbelievable. Waiting for the crazy emotions to fill the minds of everyone present. It's terrible. There is still someone who can destroy half of Marineford under the noses of Garp and Marshal Sengoku. Kazaru's rare tone was not frivolous, and he was shocked and moved. And it was fighting for days and nights, killing Marine right under your noses. Aokiji also got up and replied, incredible. Garp's strength. After the last summit war, he has a clear understanding. This is still the Golden Lion without Haki power. Fujitora smiled, and was filled with emotion at this time. Senior Sengoku, according to your previous prediction, if the Golden Lion is divided according to the strength of the gold list, it will be around 18th. However, from what I heard, how does it feel that the strength is higher than that of Vice Admiral Garp? Is it even possible to be comparable to an existence like Obito? The Green Bull tilted his head, puzzled. The weakened Golden Lion can fight Garp Sengoku for so long. What about the Golden Lion at his peak? That can't be above Garp. Uncertain. Golden Lion's strength lies in his overall strength. And Garp is a specialized armed color, brought to new heights. Each has its own growth, so what I said earlier is just speculation. Sengoku shook his head and explained. However, Garp felt puzzled at this time. What did it mean that the Golden Lion lost to them? Sengoku, what is it that the Golden Lion may have voluntarily lost to us? Speak clearly. Hey, Garp scratched his ear and retorted. 110. Golden Lion. Luffy, you straw hat, why do I look so familiar? Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Garp, you think the Golden Lion can go down from Impel? The guy who escaped from prison in such a place. With the addition of the ability of the opponent's lion fruit, even if we lose to you and me together. It's not like running away with all your heart, you can't run away. Sengoku's eyes lit up, expressing the guess in his heart. And, the reason why the other party came to the door, do you remember? Sengoku turned to look at Garp. Reason. Didn't he say he didn't believe we could catch Roger? So come and test our measure for yourself. Garp froze for a moment, but recalled it anyway. That's right, the fundamental reason for the opponent's fight is for Roger. During the time he was in prison, Impel Down was imprisoned. The whole sea was frightened. One Piece, Roger. Sengoku stopped talking when he said that. If these inferences of his are connected together, a terrifying conclusion will eventually be drawn. Golden Lion went to naval headquarters alone. In fact, it was just to test whether their marine strength was enough to catch Roger. After getting the answer in his heart, the Golden Lion. I chose to catch it with nothing, and I want to find out the meaning in Impel Down. As Sengoku's voice falls, Garp fell into a burst of contemplation and memory, and remained silent for a long time. And the other people who had not personally experienced that battle also looked at each other in blank dismay. I don't know what to say. Just digesting in my heart, the shock brought by the Golden Lion's strength. At the same time, Yanran's battle on the Jinbang screen has entered the final stage. Advertisement. The sky was also dark, and the biting cold wind brought large flakes of snowflakes. The cold wind whipped the branches, howling and howling. Large flakes of snow mixed with hurricanes, forming a severe weather like a blizzard. At this time, Golden Lion finally chose not to keep his strength. He is completely enraged, especially the guy in the straw hat. One bite at a time to become the One Piece. One must know that Roger is the existence that his Golden Lion admires the most. And this brat, One Piece of One Piece, is simply defiled Roger. For Roger, he is willing to single out the existence of the entire marine. However, at this moment, he felt that the straw hat behind Luffy was very familiar. It's just that I didn't think of it for a while. Lion Majesty. Govern place earth coiling. Without thinking too much, Golden Lion clenched his fist suddenly, frantically mobilizing the devil fruit's power. Brush. Accompanied by his small movements. Under his control, the blizzard turned into a lion's head shape, and then submerged towards the straw hat crew. Golden Lion. I'm the man who wants to be the pirate king. Die to me. Luffy's whole body was congested, and the third gear was already turned on. Boom. Golden Lion showed disdain. Raise your hand and easily hold Luffy's rubber fist firmly in your hand. One Piece. Are you worthy? I must teach you a lesson today. Let you know that there is a world of difference between you and One Piece. At this moment, Yanran was furious. Advertisement. After the words fell, he raised his right foot fiercely and swept towards Luffy in his hand. Slash wave. As soon as the voice fell, an unrivaled aura locked on Luffy instantly. However, at the moment before he raised his foot, Luffy's pupils flashed red involuntarily. His gut told him to turn sideways. He didn't hesitate at all, his body turned around in the air following his intuition, and avoided it. A sword light suddenly appeared. It almost flew out against Luffy's hair if Luffy was upstairs for half a second. It is very likely to be hit by this sword energy. The giant sword energy of the Golden Lion roared out. Although Luffy was not injured, it fell into the calm sea level. Instant. The sea seemed to come alive suddenly, and retreated to both sides spontaneously. Leave a big gap. That's where the blade goes. It's so terrifying, a sword breaks the sea. But Luffy obviously didn't pay attention to the destructive power caused by the opponent's random sword. Instead, he seized the right moment, waved his right hand, and ruthlessly greeted the opponent's face. Ask for flowers. ... What a world of difference. No matter how big the difference in strength is. I will continue to surpass and eventually become the existence of One Piece. I made a promise with the redhead. Luffy looked extremely determined. As soon as the words fell, his waving fist became bigger in an instant. With the power of Thunderbolt, it smashed down hard. Seeing this, Golden Lion hurriedly let go of Luffy's hands. The devil fruit moved with strength, and his body retreated crazily. Advertisement. Immediately afterwards, he waved his eyes again. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. Their eyes met, and Golden Lion didn't hesitate at all. Kicked out multiple sword chi enough to cut several pieces of thick water like a mountain, locking Luffy fiercely. 3 bone balloons. Luffy in the air suddenly put his fist in his mouth. There was an instant puff on the cheeks. Then he crazily pointed at the thumb on his fist, spitting air. In the blink of an eye, his body was like a balloon. Inflated like crazy. It became bigger and bigger, and even supported his floating gravity, quietly floating in the air. Afterwards, his right foot also became crazily bigger. Under the incredible eyes of the golden lion. It is so huge that its ankles are inserted into the thunderclouds in the sky. What a shocking picture this is. Even the well-informed golden lion is dumbfounded at the moment. You are courting death. It's thundercloud weather now, put your feet in the thundercloud. Under the lightning strike, there must be no bones left. Golden lion shouted loudly. Inexplicably, he was reminding his opponent. At this moment, he himself doesn't know what he thinks in his heart. It's just that the straw hat on Luffy's back messed up his mind, but he couldn't remember where he saw it. However, his kind reminder. Luffy turned a deaf ear. Boom, boom. Deafening thunder suddenly broke out. There was lightning and thunder in the sky, and the endless thunder seemed to feel Luffy's provocation. Crazy towards Luffy's huge feet, converge on it. I'm going to be the man of One Piece. 111. Golden Lion has a strong interest in Mubai. See full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I will never let you do whatever you want with my partner and this piece of land. Although the wisdom of the Golden Lion is not bad. But rubber does not conduct electricity, which is obviously a cognitive blind spot of Golden Lion. At this moment, Luffy carries the power of thunder, just like a god of thunder. Using itself as a medium to stir up the thunderclouds all over the sky. Thunder plus body, invincible. Looking at this extremely visually shocking scene, Golden Lion finally recalled the origin of that straw hat. It was the straw hat that Roger used to wear when he was young, and then passed it on to his trainee on the ship, the red-haired Shanks. Unexpectedly, it has now fallen into the hands of this man. Could it be that? Is this the guy who inherited Roger's will? Golden Lion finally came to his senses at this time, and once again felt emotional. Giant. 0-20 inches god of human slaying thunder axe. Accompanied by Luffy's loud shout. Endless and incomparable thunder, accompanied by his giant feet, fell hard. Another man from East Blue. Roger. Golden Lion looked directly at this power and roared angrily. He had previously lost to Roger of East Blue. Lost to East Blue's Garp again, now even the East Blue rookie is about to beat him. This moment seemed to stand still. He recalled the past of his life. Reminds me of the days on the Rocks Pirates, and the day I first met Roger. I remembered the sentence he said proudly to Roger, "Be my right arm." I remembered the moment when I learned that Roger was executed in prison. Under the dazzling thunder at this moment, the corners of his lips curled up again. But this time he wasn't going to fight back. Advertisement. Instead, open your hands. Shouted two big characters with tearing lungs. Roger. Accompanied by this loud roar resounded through. Luffy's battle axe Yanran fell hard. Boom, boom. The deafening crash and thunder resounded. Rumble. Golden Lion was smashed to the ground hard. Then the ground shook and the tsunami broke out. A mushroom cloud that was bombarded by countless thunders suddenly rose. The scene of the gold list. Has finally come to an end. The third place in the actor list has been announced, and the second place will be announced after a while. Wow. The big and small forces who were watching were all in an uproar. A generation of legendary pirates. Is that the end? Until then, everyone couldn't believe their eyes. You must know that in the face of legends like the Golden Lion, even the four emperors will fade away. But is such an existence defeated by East Blue's rookie? Could it be that? Are the remnants of the old era really going to withdraw from the stage of history? The new era has no ships that can carry the remnants of the old era. Everyone was hemming and booing endlessly, feeling extremely complicated in their hearts. New world. The red hair pirates are having a banquet right now. Advertisement. Captain, that guy Luffy has grown up again. To be able to do this step is indeed the man you fancy. Usopp put down the wine bowl and said happily. He was also shocked by Luffy's strength just now. Although he has never been in contact with Golden Lion, it can only be seen from the exposed pictures of the Golden Lion. The strength is so tyrannical, Luffy can defeat such a strong person. Is it worthy of being called Luffy? Forehead. Luffy is indeed growing rapidly. I never imagined that the Golden Lion would die in Luffy's hands. Only, why do I feel a little disobedient? Golden Lion's strength has regressed too seriously, right? Redhead Shanks is in a good mood, but still has doubts. You must know that the Golden Lion in his impression is the existence of the Roger Pirates. If he hadn't caught up with climate change at that time, he might have confessed to being in that war. Under that kind of natural disaster, even the captain will feel troublesome for you, right? At this time, Lajalu also put down the piece of meat and interjected. He didn't feel that there was anything wrong. However, as the think tank of the red hair pirates, Beckman always has different opinions from everyone. Point 0. Captain, have you forgotten the evaluation of the Golden Lion in the preface of the gold list? Use your life to perform, the highest state of an actor. This means that Golden Lion is acting. Is he committing suicide? Beckman sounded a reminder. Suicide. Deliberately losing to Kid Luffy. Redhead Shanks spat out his drink, disbelief all over his face. That famous legendary pirate actually wanted to commit suicide. But he also agreed with Beckman's words. Advertisement. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain the operation of Golden Lion on the actor list. Judging from the plot exposed on the gold list just now, I speculate. Golden Lion may have been struggling with Roger's death. And I don't have the intention to dominate the world anymore. Maybe it's boring, maybe it's because he feels that there is no place for him in the new era. If there are other reasons, then there is no way to know. Beckman lit a cigar, his eyes showed emotion. From the projection just now, he felt the Golden Lion's old age. Well, maybe he clearly recognizes his own strength. Yan Ran is not enough to support his ambition, so he chose to die. The redhead nodded in agreement, relying on his understanding of Golden Lion. He is absolutely possible as analyzed by Beckman. If that guy can't dominate the world, even if he dies, it is not surprising that he is 2.9. At the same time, the gold list above the sky glowed with a faint golden light. A ray of golden light blasted towards a certain island of the pirates. East Blue. An uninhabited island. The golden light dissipated. The figure of the Golden Lion appeared impressively. Gold list. Resurrection. Golden Lion murmured, his eyes flashed enlightenment. The feeling of returning to the peak really makes me feel happy. Now that I'm back, the world is ready to accept my title. Is it top 1 Mubai in the combat power list? The corners of Golden Lion's mouth were raised, and his eyes were full. His resurrection also accepted the information from the previous list of the gold list. And, he has a strong interest in Mubai. 112. Top 2 God tier Usopp. Lies come true, full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Continuing from the previous article, this issue's list, extra episode actor list top 5 to 10 P1. Second place in actor list. Straw Hat Pirates, Usopp. Close black lens bracket. Comment. The acting skills are reflected in reality, and the lies come true. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket get top 2 rewards. Top observation Haki, briefly foresee the future. Close black lens bracket. Without giving everyone too much chance to breathe in shock, the preface of the new list opened. Usopp, it's you that was introduced. For the Straw Hat Pirates, Luffy opened his mouth wide and looked confused. It seems possible, right? I'm the only one named Usopp in the Straw Hat Pirates, right? Usopp's face was dull, uncertain. He was extremely shocked in his heart, he never dreamed that he could be on the gold list. After all, he is just a little transparent in the Straw Hat Pirates, and he hasn't even gotten the bounty until now. Although it is an extra episode list, but it is also the second place. The reward is still the top observation Haki, although he still doesn't know what Haki is. But when he foresees the big characters in the future, he can still understand them at a glance. It is simply the ability of pervert. If it's true, wouldn't he want to take off? Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth couldn't stop rising, but in order not to let everyone see his thoughts, he still tried his best to hide the joy in his heart. Sure it is, 2 idiots. But, Usopp, you're hiding pretty deep, aren't you? Those who can be on the list are all guys who are good at hiding. I didn't expect you to look innocent, but your heart is so dark. Advertisement. Zoro stepped forward with arms crossed, sighing. The look in Usopp's eyes is also different from the whispers in the past. According to the experience of the previous rankings on the actor list, although it is about acting skills, it does not have strong strength and heart. It's not enough to support the acting. So he judged that Usopp must have hidden a lot. After all, this is the TOP 2 ranking. Indeed, Usopp, I didn't see it. You guys pretend to be scared every day, but it's all a show. Right. No wonder. I said that you are a big man, and you are as timid as a woman every day. Sanji was also complaining while holding a cigarette, and it seemed that he had such an expression. Ha ha, Usopp's acting is truly superb. I also think that every time you meet an opponent, you are really scared. As expected of the crew of my One Piece. Luffy laughed and slapped Usopp hard on the shoulder. Almost knocked Usopp to the ground. Forehead. I didn't expect to be discovered by you. My acting skills still need to be honed. Usopp stabilized his figure and put on his face without changing his expression. This feeling of being complimented made him feel happy. Although he himself was also confused, it did not prevent his companions from admiring him. Accompanied by the exclamation of the Straw Hats, the sound continued to resound. The golden list projection above the sky is finally open. East Blue, West Rob. A man appeared in the picture, wearing a light brown turban, and his iconic long nose revealed his identity. It is Usopp, the protagonist of this list. Advertisement. The pirates are coming. Everyone run. The pirates are coming. Everyone, hide quickly. In the picture, Usopp shouted eagerly, admonishing the villagers of Xiluobu village. At this moment, Yan Ran was sweating profusely, running panting. But, from the octogenarians to the 3-year-olds, all ignored Usopp's warning. What to do? Just because they know that Usopp guy has nothing to do and likes to scare them once. They have long been used to seeing it, but this time they still chose to turn a deaf ear. Some grumpy villagers even took brooms out of their homes, trying to teach Usopp a lesson. Pirates have entered the village. What I said is true. Hurry up and run. They are about to dock, run away because of their home. Go and play with the children in the village. And Usopp's repeated emotional persuasion suddenly cast a layer of haze on the hearts of these villagers. Of course, the pirates he hopes to come are not evil pirates like the Black Cat pirates, what he hopes is the return of his father. Don't be bluffing here early in the morning. Now someone is moved. Immediately, he lost his temper and roared angrily. Usopp stared at the reaction of the villagers, and was stunned in place. Don't you dream of some brave sea warrior of yours. Run, it's true, I'm not lying to you. Shut up. Advertisement. He never dreamed that the usual lies would come true today. Hurry up and run. You bastard. Stop rambling on rumors. Seeing this, Usopp didn't believe it, and became even more anxious. Just because it was real this time, he saw a huge pirate ship on the coast. The owner of the fruit stand was scared away when he saw a child who was buying fruit. As villagers, they have a great fear of pirates. That's why he chose to lie to the villagers before. But the mouth is still shouting nonstop. Usopp. In his dreams, he always hoped that the pirates would come to Zailuobu village. While speaking, he directly picked up the broom next to him. A strong man showed disdain and looked at Usopp like he was looking at a monkey in a zoo. A real pirate is coming. But now this time, it's not a lie. 993 this time it's real. Usopp still had a stubborn look, persistently persuading him loudly. A villager couldn't stand it anymore, pointed at Usopp and cursed. It's okay to dream, but we won't cooperate with you in acting. HMPH. Usopp. I'm not dreaming. This time it's real, it's real. Although he likes to deceive people with pirates, it's because his father went to sea. Why don't you believe me? It's the Black Cat pirates. Usopp. Get the hell out of here, you bastard. He left behind his seriously ill mother to live with him in the village. Later, because of his father's going to sea, his mother was seriously ill and had no money to treat him, nor his father to accompany him, and finally fell unconscious. 113. Brave warriors at sea, the pirates are really here, seeking full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The boss took the broom and made a gesture to shoot Usopp. Where did Usopp see this battle? Bending over to avoid the sudden attack, he gritted his teeth. Left the village. Walked towards a mansion deep in the village. The villagers don't trust him, so Weiya will definitely trust him. At that time, let Kaya tell the residents, maybe we can catch up. However, he still takes it for granted. When he told Kaya everything he knew. In exchange for, snapped. Under Kaya's angry gaze, Usopp got a slap on the cheek. Usopp was hit by the sudden slap, and lost his mind for a while. Standing there in a daze, his face full of disbelief. You must know that the Kaya he knows has always been gentle, willing to listen to his story and the person who trusts him the most. Usopp, you can just joke around. Why do you say my butler is a pirate? Kaya's anger couldn't stop rising, and she questioned loudly. Kaya, listen to me. Crow is a pirate, the leader of the Black Cat pirates. He has been lurking here for 3 years, but the actual purpose is to seize Kaya's family property. Usopp covered his hot cheek with one hand and explained again. Even if the other party didn't trust him, he didn't feel discouraged. Impossible. Advertisement. Crow is so gentle and kind, not only good at taking care of others, but also often helping the villagers. How could he be a pirate? Don't defile others. Kaya shook her head, gnashing her teeth. At this moment, he was already in a state of unrevealable anger, if he hadn't just impulsively slapped the other party. Now I feel a little guilty, otherwise she must have closed the door and window at this moment and shut the other party out. Kaya, just trust me this time. This time it's real, that guy Crow really brought the pirates ashore. I saw it with my own eyes. Usopp almost cried when he saw the other party's refusal attitude. There was even a hint of pleading in the tone. He doesn't want to give up, he knows that only by convincing Kaya can he gain the villagers' trust. Otherwise, it will be too late when the pirates enter the village. Okay. Kaya tilted her head, she carefully caught the teardrop in the corner of Usopp's eye. Her heart began to have confusion. Usopp likes to lie and brag she knows it. But crying she still sees once, but she will not doubt Crow. Thinking of this she slammed the window shut. Usopp was left stunned in place with a face full of despair. A long time. Usopp recovers from the blow. He got up and ran towards the direction of the village pier. Even if everyone doesn't believe it, I will protect the village. However, what he didn't know was that when he left the place, the windows of Kaya's house opened again. Kaya's complexion was extremely tangled, she gritted her teeth after thinking for a long time. Seems like a big decision. Advertisement. She tidied up and walked towards the direction of the village. She finally couldn't get over her heart and chose to believe in a man who was full of lies. As soon as the picture changed, Usopp on the shore fell to the ground and was dying. His strength is still too weak in the eyes of the Black Cat pirates. But he was still holding on to Kei Luo's feet. Even if he was seriously injured, he would not let them enter the village. He hopes that the villagers can hear the movement here and realize that the pirates have entered the village. What he needs to do is, even if it is death, he must delay the other party for a while. Humph, Usopp, you who are full of lies, those villagers will not trust you. The village must still be peaceful now. Crow caressed his eyes with one hand, his eyes mocking. Then he kicked the bruised Usopp away. I will not. Let your plot succeed. Usopp spat out a mouthful of blood, although his words were weak, but his tone was extremely firm. Zoro, I like that guy. I want him to be our companion. The captain of his family is really, he wants to drag everyone onto the boat when he sees him. The corners of Zoro's mouth curled up, and he passed a samurai sword in his hand to his mouth. Then just read on. Dian. The screen projected by Jinbang came to an abrupt end here. All of a sudden, all kinds of questions resounded in the sea. All the people who were watching the projection were taken aback by the unexpected ending. As this gone? But, Zoro stroked his forehead after listening, a little speechless. Advertisement. I still don't understand that Usopp guy, what did he use to get on the top two? All of them are armed with brooms, shovels, sickles and other weapons. Didn't you see that the golden list just turned off the projection? Hasn't the golden light curtain above the sky that projected the picture still dissipated? I believe that the gold list will not be lost for no reason. There must be a reason for such a ranking. In the distance, a large number of figures appeared in the distance. In the distance, Luffy who was watching this side grinned. 3 swords Zoro, ready to go. He turned his head and said to Zoro who was beside him. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. At the same time, he bit down hard, and pulled out the 2 knives at his waist with a bang. Ah. Why is there suddenly no Nuo's good? A stone stirs up 1,000 waves. Save our future partner. The leader is Kaya. Such a responsible and brave man as a companion. Smart people are also the first to discover the clues of the gold list. However, it's not all doubts in it. What happened in the end? Haha, since that's the case, then I'll go first. This guy named Usopp really has the courage to stop all the pirates by himself. Remind me. Seeing Zoro's attitude, Luffy also shook his arms to warm up. Maybe it's good too. The Golden Lion can't compare to him in performing arts with his life. Isn't this the list of actors? What is this exposure? 114. It's getting more and more outrageous, and it's all true, full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Following this speculation, the picture of Jinbang appeared again. Same East Blue, same West Robe village. Usopp stands on a branch of a tree outside the Kaya villa. Here is the branch closest to Kaya's bedroom window. Kaya, let me tell you, when I was 5 pairs. The story of my battle with the giant goldfish that inhabits the South Blue. Usopp spread his hands, looking proud. Goldfish. Have you ever fought a goldfish that big? Kaya, who has always been weak, is full of curiosity about the outside world. It's so huge that even a sink as big as yours can't fit in it. As Usopp said, he gestured with his hands wide open. Wow, Kaya is fascinated and has already entered the story of Usopp. First of all, the most amazing thing is the length of Yamato of its feces. I thought it was land and climbed up. Usopp crossed his arms, pretending to remember. The picture came to an abrupt end and changed again. When the screen changed, 540 was already a new location. Prehistoric Island, Little Garden. 2 titans appear on screen, Blue Ogre Dory and Red Ghost Brigitte. Advertisement. They have fought a long battle on this island for a century. Just when they were fighting in full swing, a huge water column rose into the sky on the sea surface, accompanied by endless waves rushing up. An extremely exaggerated goldfish jumped out. You monster island eating goldfish. I really want to eat it. Dory's complexion was more dignified than ever before, and he was filled with emotion. Even if he is a titan, he is so small in front of this goldfish at this moment. You need to raise your head to see the goldfish. And its name for goldfish is even more surprising. Food Island Goldfish. Pair that with a mouth that's big enough to swallow Little Garden Island whole. It is also appropriate. It's not just how huge this guy is that's surprising. And the size and length of the poop that it pulls out after eating all over the surrounding islands. Titan calf Brigitte also had a heavy face, full of emotion. I remember mistaking that for a land login. Dory on the side heard the corners of his mouth crack, as if recalling a happy event. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Clatter. When the screen was played to this point, everyone in the whole sea was shocked. Even the titans mistook this goldfish poop for land. The size of this goldfish is too exaggerated. Doesn't the goldfish feces look like an island to them? Hey, advertisement. Did you find out? This goldfish is exactly what that guy Usopp described. This guy didn't actually fight this goldfish, did he? Otherwise, how do you explain it? He knows such details. Damn it. Thinking carefully, I'm afraid that Usopp is not very powerful. He's just pretending he can't beat Crow. It's really terrifying. Is it exactly the same? I just heard Usopp's story and I didn't have a sense of the picture. Jinbang exposed this goldfish to me. Screw it. Usopp actually fought this goldfish. This guy is a top 2 actor through and deserves his name. There was an uproar in the audience, and everyone was amazed at the visual shock brought by this goldfish. And amazed at the insight of Usopp. And then, Kaya in the picture is also very curious at this time. Chopper, you continue to treat him. Really? Look at the appearance of Usopp on the screen, is that the future screen? It's true again. Just when the Straw Hat crew was at a loss, Robin at the side took out a dogtail grass from nowhere. Usopp grinned and said proudly. The strength is incomparable. It was lying on the hospital bed with bandages all over its body. My focus is more novel. Have you found the giant cat in the hospital bed? Other stories. I am a brave sea warrior, and I have too many experiences. Is there any other story? I still want to hear. He was obviously seriously injured, and Chopper was treating him at the side. Advertisement. Usopp crossed his arms and blew away again. At this time, a rather large cat-like fur family appeared on the screen. The hair of the whole body is mainly golden, with brown Madara stripes. Let me tell you the story of the giant cat. Kaya showed an expression of admiration and yearning. He has a ferocious face, full of sharp teeth, a pipe in his mouth, a thick mane on his neck, a huge fluffy tail, and a deep scar near his left eye. I've been hit by that guy from Usopp every time. Could it be that he ate the prophesied devil fruit? Watching the scene of Robin teasing the cat, Usopp's face was stunned, and his mouth was slightly opened. Really like a cat, fascinated by dogtail grass. Wow, you're awesome, Usopp. This is too heaven-defying, I can't even imagine it. That's the fur clan of the cat species, the cat viper of one of the 2 kings of the furry principality of Zou Island. Once or twice can be said to be a coincidence, but this is the 3rd time. The feline fur family's complexion is not good at this time, obviously seriously injured. The ability to predict the future. I even used dogtail grass to deal with it. Immediately, all the attention of this feline fur family was attracted, and his eyes were all bright. Robin said, holding the foxtail and handing it in front of it, teasing this golden fur family. Recalling the story I told before. I didn't expect. It really came true. Not very compatible with Chopper's treatment. As his voice fell, the picture of the gold list was laid out again. When I was traveling in the sea, I met a giant cat that always reminded me of its size, but its appearance was similar to that of a human being. Not only Usopp was shocked, but all the people watching the picture were also shocked. If you tease him like this, won't they be afraid of being eaten by him? Of course I fought bravely against it. 115. The ability to make red-haired Shanks jealous, full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Regardless of everyone's surprise, the exposure of the gold list is still going on. The prophecy about 80 million subordinates was exposed, and the Straw Hat fleet was established. Regarding the exposure of Usopp's prophecy that he owns Haki, the knowledgeable color accurately sniped the sugar. About the goldfish meat given to Lilliputian. The legendary mole, 3-headed dog and dragon, panacea. As for the prophecy that people all over the world will see him, Usopp, who offered a reward of 30 million Baileys for the first time, did it. The story of the giant vulture that Usopp also encountered in Alabasta. The story of the rubber band paradise, the prophecy that the beautiful swordsman is coming. Wait until the countless lies and bragging are all confirmed. Everyone went from being shocked at the beginning to being horrified afterwards. Up to the present numbness, Yan ran as dumbfounded. At this moment, a word came to everyone's mind. God, Usopp. It's not because of the strength of the opponent, but because what he said has come true. Isn't this the power of God? It's really outrageous. His mother opened the door for outrageous. Tuyupiyu has arrived home. Li Tian is the great general of the world, and the great joke of the world. What about those people who were questioning God tier Usopp's listing just now? Why aren't they talking now? Everyone who can be on the gold list is a monster. Even if it's just this kind of off-the-wall actor list. It shocked me for 10,000 years. This guy really deserves the name of top 2. Even I can't even imagine what kind of existence top 1 is. The top 5 redhead deliberately lost an arm for acting, and the 4th-ranked Denjiro has been under the command of an undercover enemy for nearly 20 years. Advertisement. Golden Lion, number 3, risked his life. The second Usopp showdown is gone, he is actually standing in the atmosphere. Then what kind of person is the first meeting? It's simply beyond recognition. Countless exclamation sounds one after another in this sea. Open black lens bracket. The second place in the actor list has been announced. Wait a moment and the first place will be announced. Close black lens bracket. New World, Red Hair Pirates. A group of people looked at each other in blank dismay, not knowing what to say. Everyone is staring at Usopp's direction. Although they don't know what Usopp's son looks like. But they can be sure that Usopp is Usopp's son. Just because they are so similar. Usopp, is that guy your son? Redhead Shanks grinned and asked. Although it is an interrogative sentence, the tone is very certain. Haha, I didn't expect him to grow up so big. Yes, my son Usopp. Same nose as Benchina. Usopp nodded, his face looked a little melancholy. Just now, he had seen Benkina's death from the screen exposed by Jinbang. At that time, in order to board the Red Hair Pirates, he directly left Benchina and Usopp behind. No man can refuse the adventurous romance. But, also because of his selfishness, his wife did not receive due care and unfortunately passed away. Advertisement. This also made him very remorseful. Usopp, silence. When the disease comes, in most cases, it is not something ordinary people like us can resist. Beckman at the side saw Usopp's thoughts, patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. Okay. Usopp's expression was a little stiff, but he nodded wolfishly. What has happened in the past cannot be changed, but what will happen in the future can be grasped. As long as he helps Usopp behind the scenes in the future, it is enough to fulfill his dream. Haha, your son and Luffy are on the same boat. I didn't feel very concerned about the previous exposure. You must have discovered the other party's identity long ago, right? The actor list has exposed the Straw Hat Pirates so many times. The redhead shook his head, full of emotion. Sometimes fate is so wonderful. Usopp boarded his boat. And his son Usopp boarded the ship of Luffy, who inherited his will. Yeah, it seems that he has also embarked on the same path as me. I also met a cherished partner. -0 for flowers. 0. The corners of Usopp's mouth rose, and there was a hint of relief in his eyes. Haha, that kid of yours is really amazing. It's obviously a big talk and a lie, but it turned out to be true. Are you sure Usopp doesn't have the ability to see the future? Lajalu also came running over at this time, muttering vaguely while gnawing on the meat leg. This advertisement. After hearing this, Usopp couldn't help being speechless for a while. As a father, he can't understand his child's ability anymore, and he even doubts whether his son can really predict the future. Thinking of this, he cast a questioning look at Beckman. Ah, don't look at me. Beckman twitched the corners of his mouth, his face full of helplessness. This time, no matter how high his IQ is, he won't be able to. This Usopp is really evil. It should be luck. It should be impossible to predict the future. According to the nature of Jinbang, if Usopp can really predict the future, then there is no need to reward Usopp's Haki, who can predict the future for a short time. Beckman shook his head, expressing the guess in his heart. Okay. After hearing this, everyone nodded involuntarily. But, the top-level observation Haki can also predict the short future. Usopp, with your strength now, you won't miss your son who just went to sea, right? The red-haired Shanks teased with the corners of his mouth raised. Rao is a strong man at his level, and he is extremely jealous of Usopp's rewards. Although the top observation Haki, for a man like him who has the strongest conquerors in the whole sea, it is nothing to worry about. But this ability to predict the future. But it is extremely tyrannical, and if you can make a judgment first, if the strong fight between them, they will gain a decisive advantage. Even Captain Roger's knowledgeable special ability may not be as real as that of Usopp. Thinking of this, the redhead sighed again. Although the ability to listen to the voice of all things is magical and powerful, but from the perspective of combat attributes alone, it is more practical to foresee the future. 116. Crazy Kaido. A suicidal awakening. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. New World, the second half. Wano, the gathering place of the world's major powers and eyes. At this time, the atmosphere became more and more dignified. Even ordinary villagers spontaneously chose to hide at home, not daring to move around casually. Ghost Island. On a cliff. Kaido was sitting on the cliff's break, gulping down the giant jug in his hand. Kaido-sama Rabbit Bull's prisoner quarry has also fallen. Or, let's run. Quinn, standing behind Kaido, persuaded Xiaoshan Lei. Sweat could not stop secreting from his forehead, and at this moment he was in a dilemma. On the one hand, he is afraid of Kaido's anger, on the other hand, he is even more afraid of the strength of the Knights of the Round Table. Waste. I am the dignified Four Emperors Kaido, the successor of Joey Boyes, 137. Being beaten into the house by others, but running away. Kaido didn't even look back, and started drinking. There is also endless anger burning in his eyes, and his heart is not feeling well these days. Although his strength is already in the top class of the world. But compared with the old monsters like the Knights of the Round Table who have been hiding for an unknown number of years, he still has no bottom in his heart. But the arrogance of being an emperor made him unable to back down, nor could he back down. If he backs down from the royal spirit he has cultivated for a long time, it will most likely affect his further growth in Conqueror's Haki in the future. This is what he doesn't want to see. Master Kaido is mighty. The Knights of the Round Table dare to confront us. According to me, unless that guy Bye ends up in person. Otherwise you are looking for your own death. Advertisement. Jack the Drow is much more direct, echoing Kaido. Don't take the Knights of the Round Table seriously. Master Kaido, let's take a long-term view. The strength of the Knights of the Round Table cannot be underestimated. Previously, The Akatsuki organization under the strength of the Knights of the Round Table destroyed the entire Marineford. The Knights of the Round Table may not be something we beasts pirates can resist. Yan Wanjin, who had been silent all this time, also knelt on one knee at this time, expressing the worry in his heart. This time he chose to stand on Quinn's side. Being smart, he naturally thinks more than Jack, and being powerful, his intelligence is also extraordinary. Naturally, there are pros and cons carefully considered. Ha ha ha, okay, you're just too sensible. So much so that your strength will always stagnate. When encountering an enemy, one should not give priority to judging the disparity in strength with the opponent. It's about stepping on the opponent's corpse to make myself stronger. Kaido shook his head, ignoring any suggestion from the three calamities. After all, he suddenly took another sip of wine. After one bite, all the cells in his body became active. At this moment, he feels that his physical condition has reached a critical point, and he feels more comfortable than ever. It's been a long time since I played suicide. Kaido stood up, the corners of his mouth curled up, and he murmured. Voice down. The three disasters all looked at each other. At times like this, I still think about suicide. As the three disasters, they naturally know Kaido's unique hobbies, and commit suicide every now and then. Just when everyone was full of thoughts, a deafening sound resounded. Advertisement. Boom. The clods shattered. The slightest crack climbed directly to the fracture of the cliff. Relying on this explosive power, Kaido's huge figure jumped high and straight into the sky. Just the blink of an eye. Kaido's figure rose into the clouds and disappeared. Jin, what do you mean by how big your lord is? It's such a time, what exactly is Master Kaido thinking? Quinn sighed, came to Jin's side and asked. Get ready. This battle, Master Kaido is determined to fight. If you have the idea of backing down again, I don't mind killing you before starting the battle. Jin withdrew his gaze from looking at the sky, and a cold voice came from under the mask. The warning in it is self-evident. The cold words made Quinn's heart tense, and he also put away the only luck left in his heart. Haha, it's over. Quinn, it's not like you. 0.0 inches. Jack the Drow also grinned at this time, ready for war. Voice down. A strong sense of oppression came from above. Everyone was speechless and raised their heads suddenly. In the line of sight, above the clouds, a black dot pierced through the clouds again, and was falling crazily towards the sea at an extremely fast speed. What? Jin, who had been taciturn all this time, finally found a clue at this time. Unable to calm down any longer, I screamed out. What's wrong? All. Quinn also felt that something was wrong, so he hurriedly asked. Advertisement. At this speed, Master Kaido really wants to commit suicide this time. And from the looks of it, Kaido doesn't intend to use Devil Fruit's abilities. I want to rely solely on my body to carry a wave of damage. This time it's a real suicide. Jin speaks surprisingly and incoherently. Rao is based on his understanding of Kaido, he can't even guess what Kaido is thinking at this time. Are you going to save Kaido-sama? Jack's heart was shocked after hearing this, but he still cautiously reminded him. Save. Who dares to stop what Master Kaido decides? Jin shook his head. Boom. Boom. Accompanied by a shocking sound of collision of ghosts and gods. Kaido's figure plunged fiercely into the vast sea of 2.0. In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains shook. This cliff is also precarious, facing the danger of collapsing at any time. The endless tsunami crashed, and the waves rose hundreds of meters high. The entire Ghost Island has been moved a little bit. This moment of collision, Rao is the three disasters who have seen big scenes, and they are all stupid at this moment. They have seen many scenes of Kaido committing suicide, but this time they have never seen this kind of scene before. The falling speed is 10 times and 100 times faster than before, and the height is 100 times higher than before. Resist with physical strength. At this moment, there was a burst of wild laughter from the sea. Ha 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 ha. Soon, I feel the awakened power of Devil Fruit calling to me. 117. Three disasters war Kaido, the edge of the breakthrough, full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Accompanied by Kaido's loud shout resounding. The calm sea level suddenly boiled. Then it went straight into the sky, and Kaido's figure appeared again. Jin, who had been watching the situation here from the cliff, was startled. Staring at Kaido with burning eyes. There is no scar on the body, and the Kung Fu recovered from this meeting. Master Kaido, just how terrifying is the development of Devil Fruit? Jin murmured in shock, with mixed feelings in his heart. Do you know that Kaido has already developed the Phantom Beast to Ultimate, and now it is still improving? Also Zone. Could it be that Kaido's fruit has no upper limit? No scars at all. Wrong. It took only a moment to recover. Jack, who was also physically strong, dropped his jaw in shock at the scene in front of him. As expected, Kaido, the king of beasts, possesses 20 strongest bodies. Master Kaido's strength has gone a step further. Plague Quinn's face was deep, and he gave his own judgment. In his heart, there is also a monstrous wave. Originally, he thought that Kaido's strength had reached the upper limit. Maybe there won't be a big improvement. I didn't expect Kaido-sama to become stronger again. This guy doesn't look like a human at all, but a real beast king. How many of you come together, attack me with the determination to kill me? Accompanied by a wave of trembling, Kaido jumped ashore, speaking amazingly. After the words fell, the 3 major Kanban visitors were all taken aback. Advertisement. Afterwards, they all coincidentally knelt down on one knee. Master Kaido, we have no second thoughts about you. Give us the bear heart and leopard courage, we wouldn't dare. Quinn lowered his head, not daring to look at Kaido's face at all. Although I don't know why Kaido-sama is suddenly angry, but it's important to save your life right now. Master Kaido, my subordinates dare not fight you. If I'm not careful, I'll be beaten to death by you. Jack's face was like a bitter melon, and he persuaded miserably. Don't think too much about it. I just lack a few opponents for cultivation, and your combined strength is barely enough. My bottleneck is slightly loose. Kaido shook his head, spread his hands and explained. The development of zone devil fruit largely depends on the strength of one's own body. Only with a strong physique can we have better adaptability to the shape of a beast, and the development of devil fruit can enter a higher level. Kaido's phantom beasts need to constantly test on the edge of life and death, constantly break through the limit, and squeeze zone's healing properties. His suicide actions for so many years were not actually to show off his strong physique. Nor is it to show the strength of oneself to this sea, to deter the little ones. Its fundamental purpose. Day after day, year after year. Just waiting for the awakening of the phantom beast devil fruit. Although there is no precedent in this world, he knows a secret. The guy named Joey Boy, very likely awakened the phantom beast. And he, who has always claimed to be the successor of Joey Bowie, naturally insists that his fruit can also be awakened. With his disdainful efforts, in his phantom fish fruit, phantom beast species, and blue dragon form, the bottleneck has finally been loosened. Naturally, he would not miss this opportunity. Fighting against the 3 disasters will definitely give him more insight into the fruit. Advertisement. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Falling with Kaido's explanation. Yes, Master Kaido. All 3 calamities raised their heads suddenly and got up from the ground. Kaido's strength still needs to be improved. Moreover, it is a leap forward like breaking through the bottleneck. They didn't even dare to imagine what level it would be. But when the battle with the Knights of the Round Table is imminent. Kaido's words are like a shot in the arm, making them feel extremely at ease. Then come. Successful 3-hyphenation point Yin Naraku. Seeing everyone getting ready to fight, Kaido didn't hesitate, suddenly waved the mace in his hand. Suddenly thunder flashes. This time it's really true, it's going to be real. Jin sighed. Devil fruit is the craziest motivator. The horns on the head grow rapidly, and the arms and the wings on the back fuse together to form huge pterosaur wings. Pteranodon, human beast. Then I have to be careful, otherwise I will be beaten to death by Master Kaido. Jack also grinned. Accompanied by a deafening elephant cry, the ground shook after a while. A gigantic mammoth looms. Zone katakana middle dot elephant fruit katakana middle dot ancient species katakana middle dot mammoth form. Master Kaido, then I'll come on without hesitation. At the same time, Quinn also became serious. After a while of shaking, a huge orange brachiosaurus showed its fangs. Short-tempered Jack. Without giving everyone any time to react, it was already controlling the mammoth's elephant foot. Advertisement. He stomped hard on Kaido's mace. Boom. Boom. Accompanied by the huge sound of 963. This spectacular battle has begun. The power is still too weak. Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido grinned, and the fighting spirit in his heart rose sharply. While speaking, the muscles of his arms expanded again, and he performed his famous stunt. What? Feeling the huge force coming from under his feet, Jack's pupils shrank. Under his inconceivable gaze, his gigantic figure was as light as a kite with a broken string at the moment. It was overturned. How can there be such a big gap? Jack kept adjusting his figure in the air, murmuring in disbelief. Jin on the other side also grasped the gap. The flames on his body burned and boiled, turning into a laser like a laser. He rushed towards Kaido fiercely. He wants to hurt Kaido during this interval. Sable self-respecting emperor. Drunken thunder, Yin Naluo. Almost at the same time, Kaido sensed Jin's movement. The momentum of the body suddenly rose. Conqueror's Haki vented out. The black and red world-destroying lightning instantly wrapped around his mace. Conqueror's winding. Jin, who was flying in the air, was astonished, but his movements were not slow. Armament Haki condenses, gathers above the fist. 118. Body training success. Sudden captivating momentum. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The reason why Conquerors is the king of Haki is not that its owner has the majesty. It is the strength and confidence brought by Conquerors, so that the owner has this spirit. Jin's armored coil, Wanokuni's emission. After only parrying for a moment, he was defeated and flew out fiercely. Is this all there is? Know that you are the top 3 signboards of the beast's pirates. If it's just that, it's really far away. Kaido shouted loudly, and he stopped paying attention to Jin and Jack. Instead, he looked up at the Brachiosaurus Quinn that fell from the sky. This Brachiosaurus was preparing long before the battle started. But he has never escaped the capture of his knowledge. Brachiosaurus bomb, accompanied by Quinn's loud shout. At this moment, the Brachiosaurus turned into a tornado, spinning and falling at an extremely fast speed. The surrounding air is driven by this force to crazily scroll. Even if it looks like this blow, you can feel the breath of death on it. HMPH, after careful planning for so long, is there only so much power? Faced with such a sense of oppression, Kaido didn't change his face. He shook his head, eyes full of disappointment. You'll know if you try it. Kaido-sama. Quinn was taken aback, but still gritted his teeth. He is full of confidence in his ability, even Kaido believes that he can hurt the opponent. However, Kaido didn't even hide, he greeted him fiercely with his head. Advertisement. Immediately, an irresistible shock wave spread in all directions. What? Receive my attack with your head. Quinn finally couldn't calm down anymore, his pupils shrank crazily. But his attack didn't stop, like a drill, it kept spinning at high speed. Seeing this, Jack, who was steadying his figure, suddenly lost his mind. The gap in strength is too great. Quinn made a big move, and Master Kaido just caught it. Even without changing any mentality, purely relying on the strength of the flesh. Scary. Jack had a bitter face. But he didn't dare to disobey Kaido's order. Right now is the best time for him to join the battlefield. At this moment, Kaido needs to parry the attack from above, he can't move his body at all, he is a target. With this in mind, he ran towards Kaido again. Trample. Accompanied by a high-pitched elephant cry, his feet stepped on the other side fiercely again. At the same time, Jin, who had just been knocked out, also adjusted his figure. Base. He suddenly pulled out the samurai sword at his waist, and at the same time, the scorching flames wrapped the samurai sword. Fire Dragon King. There was a soft drink from under the mask. Voice down. The flame-wrapped knife shot out an oriental dragon-shaped flame, and the hot flame was like magma. The moisture in the continuous air is evaporated at this moment. For a while, the atmosphere in the arena became more cramped and tense. The fire dragon roared and rushed towards Kaido from the side. If you look at it from the perspective of God at this moment. Above Kaido, directly in front, to the right. Advertisement. They attacked him in 3 directions at the same time. This is a complete siege, send. It's getting more interesting. In that case, the corner of Kaido's mouth rose, and the fighting spirit was finally aroused at this time. Then I'll have a good time with you in human form. Voice down. Everyone who was launching the offensive was dumbfounded, and even stunned for a moment. You know this is in battle. But what Kaido said is too amazing, don't use the power of devil fruit, just use the flesh. Against them 3 ancient zone. Avatars are not a good habit in battle. You guys are still too young. Kaido looked at the bewildered crowd, and suddenly became angry. Armored colors like pitch black armor instantly covered his arms. The left arm severely blocked the hoof of the mammoth. King Kong Dysprosium. With his right arm, he suddenly swung the mace, waving a cold sword aura. Boom. Boom. Jin looked at Kaido, who was calm, with a dignified tone. Between lightning and stone fire. Question mark. QG. Plus. %. Until the moon climbs into the night sky, and then the dawn dawns. The battle finally entered a fierce stage. Li Lijiao, Jack's eyes were also bright at this time, and he rushed forward with a reminder. At this time, Quinn also lost the rotation force, and fell heavily to the ground. After this brief fight, he deeply realized the gap in strength. Advertisement. The 2 sides fought back and forth, and it was impossible to tell the winner in a short time. A hero is hard to beat with 4 hands is Kaido's current state. Well done. How is this possible? The attacks from different directions at the same time were all resolved by Kaido. Jack felt the powerful force under his feet and let out a horrified sound. So there is no need to choose to hold back. At a certain moment, Kaido's whole body erupted with an overwhelming vigor. Shuin. Finally. This time he chose hand-to-hand combat, 3-on-1 close combat. He also chooses to believe in Jin's judgment. After all, the fight to the flesh is the romance of their beasts pirates. I don't know how long this great war lasted. Lord Kaido, I'm sorry. With Jin and Kaido colliding again. Since that's the case, I don't choose to keep it. From sun up to sun down. This terrifying momentum swept the 3 disasters to a distance of 100 meters. Seeing Jin's aura gradually rising, Kaido knew that the other party was going to be serious. A series of terrifying shock waves spread crazily. Quinn didn't speak, and Haki's movements showed his determination. After the words fell, he didn't wait for the others to say anything, he drew out the blade, and his wings fluttered. The fighting spirit in my heart suddenly broke out again. Even if he is as strong as Kaido, he probably won't be able to stand it. The sound of energy collisions from all directions was deafening. Backquote is expected of Kaido-sama. Otherwise, if the 3 of them work together, Kaido in human form will not be able to be a training partner. With the endless sound of piercing through the air, Jin charged up again. Since that's the case, I don't choose to keep my hand. 119. Yu Fruit awakens, Blue Dragon form. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At the same time, Kaido couldn't bear the sudden momentum for 100 meters around him, and collapsed. The ground under his feet collapsed and splashed directly. That is not Devil Fruit awakening. Can Phantom Beasts awaken? Jin, who stabilized his figure, finally couldn't calm down at this moment. Mouth was open, unable to speak completely. And Jack and Quinn also looked at each other in blank dismay, dumbfounded. You must know that Rao is an ancient species, and they don't have any hope of awakening. Zone's inability to awaken is common knowledge in this sea. Not to mention the ancient species. But unexpectedly, their captain, 4 Emperors Kaido. That guy. This momentum. This is the awakening of Phantom Beasts. It's terrifying. Is this Kaido of the beasts, the strongest creature in the sea, land and air? Regardless of the amazement of the 3 calamities, Kaido's scarred body at this moment. It is actually recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It is so terrifying, it has a more terrifying recovery ability than the previous beast form, 48 human beast form. This is the power of the Blue Dragon. My ability to awaken is not Nika, the sun god. Joey Boy is not me. Although the awakening was successful, Kaido's face didn't even have the slightest joy at the moment. It can even be said to be very resentful. What? Advertisement. Miss Kaido's expression, is it a failure? Or, Master Kaido didn't wake up Joey Boy. Jin has always been strategizing and calm. At this time, I found the clue, the expression under the mask is full of incredible. According to the records of the ancient text, as well as the records of other races. The existence of Joey Boy in this era can only be Kaido. Could it be that I read it wrong? How is it possible? Won't the awakening of Phantom Beasts wake up Joey Boy? Jin's heart was like a bolt from the blue, and his hands trembled uncontrollably. Proof of the restlessness in his heart. He didn't figure it out, and he didn't hesitate to turn his figure into an afterimage. In an instant, he flew to Kaido's side and knelt down on one knee. Master Kaido, did you succeed in awakening? Or did you fail? Jin lowered his head, and his tone trembled slightly, indicating that his heart was not at peace at the moment. Failed. Kaido looked dark and shook his head. The voice fell. His body has undergone earth-shaking changes. The horns on his forehead began to branch and grow in an instant, changing from the original shape of cow horns to the shape of deer horns. The face is gradually covered with scales. It looks like Qilin. Qilin head, antlers. Seeing this, Jin opened his mouth wide, he murmured subconsciously. As this, Qilin's ability, Jin guessed uncertainly. But in the next moment, in his eyes, Kaido's figure is still changing. A tail resembling a carp swayed up. At the same time, Kaido's palm also changed into sharp 5 claws. Advertisement. After a series of metamorphosis, the sacred fire rose behind Kaido. Carp. Jin's face was dull, and he was even more dazed. But I still give my guess. You must know that Kaido's devil fruit is a phantom beast, but its essence is still a fish fruit. It is not without reason that Yu awakened to become a carp. But Kaido shook his head again. Qilin head, carp tail, long whiskers, deer-like horns, and 5 claws. I awakened the ability of Qinglong. Kaido let out a foul breath, and temporarily let go of his thoughts about Joey Boy. Blue Dragon. The real dragon of ancient mythology. CAFB. A carp leaps over a dragon's gate. A fish transforms into a dragon. Master Kaido, now your strength is probably already above the other 4 emperors. Jin resisted the surprise in his heart and expressed his guess. Awakening essentially symbolizes transformation, and the transformation of Yu fruit into a green dragon is also completely in line. Ha 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 ha. That's right, although only those who refine Haki can reach the top of the world. But Laozi's awakening is a phantom beast, and I have no upper limit on the ability to cultivate fruits. There is no one in this world who can stop me now. Even Joey Boy of this era is innocent in front of my absolute strength. Kaido grinned, opened his hands and laughed. Although he was not selected by Joey Boy, the ability to awaken the Azure Dragon has also been greatly improved. Master Kaido, what is your new ability after awakening? Jin asked again. For Zone's awakening, even if it is as mysterious as him, there are countless curiosity. Ability. Are you talking about the strongest ability after awakening? Kaido was stopped by this sudden question. Advertisement. I couldn't help touching my chin and thinking about it. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed through his mind. Correct. What I awakened was the power of Fudo Ming'o. But this ability has brought me a huge increase in combat power. But even with my physique, I can't maintain this state for a long time. Otherwise what awaits me will be death. This is a heaven-defying ability, and the side effects are huge. Kill 800 enemies, and lose 1000. Kaido said that the divine fire on his back suddenly became more condensed, and his skin began to slowly turn red. Okay. Jin was stunned for a moment, speechless. Base. He suddenly pulled out the long knife at his waist. Guardian Fire Dragon Emperor. Without any hesitation, the cold sword energy flowed into the Minister of the Air. Immediately, a fire dragon bigger than the Fire Dragon King carried endless murderous intent, and locked Kaido in the blue dragon state. But the next moment, his pupils shrunk. As if struck by lightning, he stood there in a daze, motionless. He was not shocked that Kaido dodged his sword energy, nor was he surprised that Kaido stopped his sword energy casually. But because, at this moment, his fire dragon passed through Kaido's body abruptly. Seeing is not believing, Jin. This is a mirage, an illusion that can interfere with your vision. No one has been seen, but the majestic voice resounds through this shop. 120. Top 1. Mubai again. Still Mubai. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. What? I can't even detect the color of knowledge. How could there be such an ability in this world? Even Jin, who is well informed, is at a loss for words at this moment. Not sure how to explain Kaido's abilities anymore. Here we go. It's appropriate for the few of you to go down and prepare for the war. I want the Knights of the Round Table to know that lousy is not something to mess with. Kaido's complexion was deep, and he ordered to come. At the same time, the gold list above the sky changed again. The new list has arrived. Continuing from the previous article, this issue's list, extra episode actor list top 5 to 10 P1. Open black lens bracket number 1 actor list. God Mubai, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket evaluation. Curiosity makes trouble, interested in the power of the weak, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket get top 1 rewards. Listen to the voice of all things, conquerors winding, emission, close black lens bracket. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Wow, accompanied by the opening of the prologue. The whole sea fell into an unprecedented shock. Mubai again, and this reward is outrageous. They can't understand any of them, but they know that they are all top notch. You must know that the rewards of the Tianbang are all progressive, the higher the ranking, the better the rewards. Top 2's top knowledge plus foreseeing the short future is outrageous enough. This top 1 reward is definitely bigger. What do you all think about Mubai, who is the number 1 in the reward combat power list? In his eyes, they may be toys, all things used to pass the time. He is an existence that even the Jinbang is afraid of, and even the Jinbang showed signs of surrender before. Advertisement. Do you think the rewards given by Jinbang will be taken seriously by the other party? Even if Jinbang gave himself to Mubai, Mubai might not even blink. While everyone is talking, the projection of the gold list kicked off. In the picture, a bamboo forest swayed slightly. Little leaves flutter in the wind and fly away. Constitute a peaceful and elegant harmonious picture. A young man stood there, as if blending in with the surrounding environment. The young man is as warm and moist as jade, with short warm orange hair that looks like it has just been washed, elegant and easy. The light blue eyes are as elegant and docile as the bustling midnight starry sky, attracting people's attention unconsciously. This boy, it is the existence that people have been discussing and curious about. That mysterious man, God Mubai, I saw him lift his lips lightly, making a slight arc. Fascinated all the girls watching the projection again. This Haki is really amazing. What a powerful force. Mubai looked at the pitch black armor in his hand, and his tone was shocking. Voice down. The powerhouses who were watching the gold list were all taken aback. What is strong power? Powerful Haki. You are really good at acting. You are the number 1 existence on the combat power list. The 4 strengths under his command almost occupy the entire list. Now a small armed color makes you such an existence, shocked. How can you pretend? At this moment, they have endless words in their hearts that they want to complain about, but compared to complaining, they are more curious about Mubai's next actions and thoughts. However, Mubai's next action in the screen shocked the jaws of all the strong pirates. I saw Mubai let out a long breath, and his light blue pupils shone slightly. Advertisement. Then he punched the bamboo. Swipe swipe. All of a sudden, the thick pillar swayed crazily, and Yin Huang's leaves trembled and fell. However, although it looks destructive, but even if that pillar shook for a long time, it didn't fall either. Why didn't you fall down? Is my body too weak? Isn't Haki strong? He can punch through rocks at will. Am I a fake? Mubai shook his head, frowned beautifully, and his face was full of doubts. It's not just that he's wondering. All the powerhouses in Pirate World are also puzzled. Is this the number 1 existence on the combat power list? Haki has such a strong strength, even with a normal physique, he can smash the pillars casually, okay. Not to mention the existence of the number 1 combat power list, the physique must be extremely strong. 0 for flowers. If you want to rely on your strong physique without knocking down the pillar, in a sense it is even more difficult than knocking down. At this moment, they felt the breath of Versailles from Mubai. Mubai on the screen frowned his delicate brows. Obviously not believing in evil, he clenched his fist again and hit him a few times. However, it still didn't help. This pillar was like the tumbler from the previous life, it couldn't be broken at all. Is there any physics knowledge involved in this? Mubai shook his head, couldn't figure it out and didn't think about it anymore, and blamed physics. Then he showed his eyes, and suddenly the top conqueror's haki exploded. The surrounding gravel was also swept away at the same time. One after another, the overwhelming momentum pushed towards the pillar in front of him and fueled the flames. However, advertisement. This time the pillar shook violently again. 18. Still can't fall. Dry. As this conqueror's haki fake too. Can't even knock down a pillar. The rewards given by the gold list are too rubbish, aren't they? At this moment, Mubai finally couldn't stabilize his mentality, and cursed loudly. Armed color does not work. Conquerors are fake. Is that top notch? He clearly remembers those strong haki, Garp the Fist, red-haired Shanks in the original book. All of them are awesome. How did he pull his hips like this? Armed colors don't work, conquerors don't work. I don't know if sex is rubbish, right? Mubai's tone was slightly angry, he closed his eyes and began to sense the movements of the birds and reptiles around him. However, a second passed. 2 seconds passed. Po. A big tic-tac-toe popped out of his face. 5 seconds. His complexion was pitch black, and his brows were knit together in anger. 7 seconds. 8 seconds. At this moment, Mubai's body trembled slightly in Yanran's anger. In his mind, it was still pitch black. 1:21. I really didn't act, I really don't understand. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Exclamation mark. Knowledge is useless, isn't it? Won't the gold list give me all fake? Mubai's complexion was dark, and he complained. New world, on Moby Dick. Whitebeard frowned slightly, looking at him who was projected on the golden list at the moment, feeling infinitely puzzled in his heart. Marco, do you understand what that Mubai is doing? Whitebeard couldn't figure it out, so he simply stopped thinking and asked aloud. I really don't understand, how can I use Conqueror's haki to attack the pillar? It needs skill, right? At least you have to be able to wrap your conquerors. How can a simple conquerors have such power? Marco supported his forehead with one hand, and he was naturally puzzled. But when the old man asked, he still expressed some of his own thoughts on 340. Yes, Mubai is the leader of the 4 major forces, how can he not touch the most basic ones? Whitebeard tilted his head, not knowing why. Father, in my opinion, maybe the other party has never touched haki before. The forces under him, the members of the Akatsuki organization, don't they all know nothing about haki? Although they are powerful, none of them use the power of haki. Foil Vista also stepped forward at this time and participated in the discussion. Not only him, but also the people of the 13th Division one after another put down what they were doing and moved closer. We must know that everyone has curiosity about the TOP1, the most mysterious man in the world. Advertisement. Okay. Whitebeard heard this and nodded in agreement. This explanation is also the most in line with Mubai's current situation. But it's the first time I use conquerors, I don't know the pure conquerors, so it's understandable that the actual damage is very low. The color of knowledge needs to sense danger and people to trigger it, which is understandable. But why doesn't Mubai his top armed color even knock down the pillars? Even my armed weapon is capable of crushing rocks, let alone the pillar in the picture. It still feels weird to me. Ace looked puzzled, and still didn't understand what happened in the picture. His voice fell. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, thought about it, and fell silent again for a while. Why didn't the top armed color knock down the pillar? It's really unreasonable. Whitebeard was at a loss for words when he heard this. This is indeed the truth, let alone bamboo like them. It's just a hill, he is sure to break through it. You guys are overcomplicating the problem. Joe's also inserted back at this time. He has never liked to think too much, and his thinking is very straightforward. Think about the circumstances under which armed color can't knock down bamboo. Joe's didn't rush to answer, but threw out a question. As soon as the words fell, everyone was stunned and thought. Quick-tempered Ace shook his head. Advertisement. But just when Ace was about to speak, Marco's eyes were all lit up, revealing a sudden expression. He said, Joe's, you mean that Mubai has reached the top level of control over his body? Our consistent thinking is that after awakening haki, the body will be extremely powerful. Without a strong body, we can't even meet the basic conditions for practicing haki. But I forgot that with haki alone, if you are weak, you can't improve much. As soon as the voice fell, everyone gasped, how strong is this Mubai who can control the body cells to that extent? That's right, I think Mubai must have forcibly changed his body. Even if you use the armed color, you can't knock down the bamboo. This requires meticulous control of one's own power, which I suspect is difficult for a father at this level. Jaws's tone was heavy, he once again deeply realized the power of Mubai. As his voice fell, everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. They all practiced according to Mubai's cultivation method in a decent manner. He, Sleepy White, really doesn't understand haki. Thinking of this, his arms suddenly turned black. This gold list is not cheating me, these few Haki are useless at all. I feel armed with color winding, internal destruction. Father, you are. Even Ace, who has just learned to arm colors. Joe's was right. For no reason, I feel powerless. I want to try to learn from Mubai, the existence of the number 1 combat power list, even if it is a new force, his talent will be instantly available, and he will master and develop various skills. The top one in this world has their own views on Haki, and these views are beyond the imagination of a powerhouse like him. Advertisement. It can be inferred from other aspects that the armed color Haki has hidden secrets. He can't do it, he can only use brute force, but he has never paid attention to the cultivation of his own strength. Point 0. Could it be that? The only way to use the top-level armed color, but not to use strong force, is the highest level of armed color cultivation. Dry. Is this still top Haki? Immediately after his arm, Fist 1.2 was also suddenly covered with a layer of pitch-black armor. These are not the pinnacle of armed color. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Marco was also taken aback. Then Joe's, in order to hide. He's not stupid either. By now he was already feeling like he had sorted out Mubai's strange maneuvers. Another sharp gasp. Mubai shakes his head in the picture. So, Whitebeard's mind was full of thoughts. This had to make him suspicious. And Mubai's unique take on armed colors. Whitebeard didn't hide anything, he explained it directly. The guy from Garp can be on par with me, or even stronger than me, just by armed with a Haki. Marco looked up in doubt, not knowing why. Whitebeard on the side also nodded solemnly at this time. Mubai's cultivation method can never go wrong. The opponent is a top 1 existence, and this alone is enough. Foil Vista. 122. The battle is imminent, the assembly is complete. Seek full order. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The first place in the actor list of the extra episode has been announced, and the ranking of the talent list will be brought later. Stay tuned. Close black lens bracket. The projected picture also came to an end here. Somewhere in Pirate World, Mubai also accepted the reward issued by the gold list at the same time. Host, the gold list rewards have been checked and optimized by the system. It has been issued. The pleasant mechanical female voice sounded at the right time, informing Mubai of the current situation. In fact, she doesn't need to say. In Mubai's mind at this moment, Yanran has received a lot of information from strange forces. Conqueror's winding technique, emissions technique. Even the same model as One Piece Rogers listened to the voice of everything. This time I can also understand the main text of history. Mubai raised his mouth and clenched his fist. He was extremely satisfied with this reward. The doubts and incomprehensions about Haki before are completely understood at this moment. This time the reward was not only in terms of skills, but also strengthened his own physique. Even without Haki at this moment, 20 he is sure to penetrate the tree trunk. This is brought about by physical improvement. If he is using Haki now, his strength will be different from the past. It's really a caring gold list. It's really what's missing. Mubai was in a good mood and burst out laughing. While speaking, a layer of pitch black armor covered his arms. Think emission silently in your heart. Immediately as if sakura flowers float by. Advertisement. Just exerting a little force, the bead shattered. That's right, it didn't break, it didn't fall down, but it shattered directly. Turned into fly ash like mustard. This is the armed color after physical improvement and mastery of power skills. So scary. It worked out pretty well. The corners of Mubai's mouth curled up, and then his eyes narrowed. The momentum of the whole body was vented crazily. Boom, boom. Black and red lightning wrapped around Mubai, flowing wantonly. In a shattering fashion, the pillars fell backwards crazily one by one. This is what I think of conquerors. The aptitude of a king should have such an aura. The more he tried his strength, the corners of Bai's mouth rose up. This feeling of gaining power made him intoxicated. Then he narrowed his eyes slightly, and his sense of knowledge instantly opened. Whispers resounded in my ears. Although he didn't quite understand it, he clearly understood the emotional changes of everything around him. This is his new ability. Hear the voice of everything. The next thing is an invincible devil fruit. Mubai stroked his slightly aching head, his tone uplifting. At this moment, Yanran couldn't wait to check Orochimaru's research results. But, he also knew that there was no rush for this matter, but the guy hadn't sent him a letter yet, which meant that the research progress was still early. My lord, are you practicing here early in the morning? It's really hard work. Advertisement. At this moment, a frivolous voice sounded behind him. Mubai raised his mouth and turned his head slightly. The visitor has a very tall figure, blue-green skin and long white curly hair. The pupils and lips are purple. Around the neck is a large light blue halo. The right hand always holds a long staff with a black magic ball on top, which can display any information of the seventh universe according to Weiss, wishes. The top and bottom of the staff are yellow, and the middle is dark blue. If there are blue star people here, they will definitely scream. The person who came from the super powerful combat power of Dragon Ball. The angel Weiss of the seventh universe has unfathomable physical strength. Wes, why do you have the leisure to watch me practice? Mubai shook his head and laughed, feeling ashamed. Just because he experimented with Haki, he was complacent about Haki's power. In the eyes of Weiss, this attitude really seems to be a bit of a drop in his status. Because I sensed it, a strange power. I'm worried, I'll come over and have a look. Just in case the Lord, something unexpected happens. Weiss looked respectful, without any hesitation, he called immediately. Because of the system, his loyalty to Mubai is absolutely 100%. Even if the strength may be above Mubai. Well, let's go back, the experiment has been completed. You can continue playing chess with me today. After hearing this, Mubai understood the intention of the other party, nodded in satisfaction, and ordered to come. Yes. Weiss didn't say much, and followed behind Mubai. The next day, the atmosphere of the entire sea fell into a strange state. Everyone was embarrassed, and the weak ones all withdrew from the second half of New World. Some timid ones even withdrew directly from New World and returned to the first half of the Grand Line. Only because today is the day of war between Knights of the Round Table and Kaido. Advertisement. A Wano-kuni battle that is comparable to the Summit War is about to break out. This is why they are not afraid. A few days ago, during the Summit War, the haze brought by the Akatsuki organization still lingered for a long time. Now the Knights of the Round Table, which ranks higher than the Shao organization, make a move. If you are not careful, you will be in trouble. They dare not gamble, even if they are some pirates who have already looked down on life and death and licked blood on the tip of their knives. 920 New World. The second half of the Grand Line. Wano-kuni. At this moment, there are a large number of people standing in various ports. Headed by King Arthur Artoria, they lined up with solemn expressions. This mission is only allowed to succeed and not to fail. We cannot live up to the Lord's trust in us. Artoria's crisp and ethereal shout resounded, and the expressions of all the Wano-kuni and former Odin's retainers behind him were shocked. Hit Kaido. Avenge His Majesty Odin. Bring victory to the Knights of the Round Table. A slogan, one after another, is deafening. Artoria felt a slight headache and stroked her forehead. In the past few days, she has been persuading Denjiro, Hisong and other Red Sheath 9 heroes, but to no avail. As soon as the day dawned, these people brought a large number of people to the pier. At the same time, the pier of Ghost Island separated by the sea. It is also full of people at the moment. Kaido stands at the forefront, even if the war is about to break out. The huge wine jug is also in hand, and I take a sip from time to time. Little ones, if you want to escape, better not let me find out. Otherwise, speaking of this, Kaido's aura is overwhelming, and he suddenly vented it. 123. Sun Gawen, God of Noon. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. After finishing speaking, don't wait for everyone to come back to their senses. Endless imposing madness vented from Kaido. All of a sudden, the world changed color. Boom. Accompanied by a dragon chant. Kaido in beast form hovers above the sky. It's Master Kaido's devil fruit ability. Master Kaido became serious as soon as he came up. God, how much pressure did the Knights of the Round Table put on Kaido-sama, and he used the beast form as soon as he came up. Brothers, follow me and win for Master Kaido. Master Kaido is mighty. Today I want to kill a lot. Just a face-to-face. Onijima's Kaido's subordinates are boiling up. At the same time, the pupils of the giant dragon above the sky trembled suddenly. Then smoke came out of his mouth. Hot interest. Accompanied by a big drink. Hot flames whizzed out from his pouring mouth. Spin in the air, compress and wind. Even the air was burned to the point of smoke. It is enough to see how high the heat of this blow is. The heat wave is rolling, and the entire sea is rapidly evaporating. See this. Everyone in Wano-kuni was startled, and the hairs on their bodies trembled. Can breathe flames. Is this still zone devil fruit? Is this the strength of Kaido? How can you fight? All of a sudden, the mouths of the people were dry, and they were at a loss for what to do as they watched the engulfing flames. However, just when the Red Sheath 9 heroes were about to make a move. Advertisement. A man stood up. In an instant, the faces of the Red Sheath 9 heroes froze, and they all stopped and chose not to make a move. Only because. This man is Gawen, one of the Knights of the Round Table. Appraised by Jinbang as the Sun Knight, God of Noon. And at this moment, when the sky is bright. Playing with fire in front of Gawen. Interesting. Altria on the side has a strange expression. To be honest, she didn't understand Kaido's operation. Could it be that Kaido can't understand the information exposed on the gold list? But Gawen didn't have so many worries. He directly put the holy sword of the sun in his hand in front of his body, his eyes were cold. Base. Accompanied by a sword cry. Suddenly, a dazzling hot flame was waved out. Roaring towards Kaido's hot breath. In a blink. Two hot streams meet, and something unbelievable happens. Same flame. But the flame that Gawen waved casually. Now, it seems to be devouring the opponent's flame. What? How is this possible? The blue dragon Kaido hovered in the air, his pupils constricted. shout out in disbelief. At this moment, the hairs all over his body could not stop trembling. With the power of the same line, he is acceptable to be suppressed. But being devoured directly, one's own flames turned into nourishment for the other party. This kind of thing was beyond his imagination. Next moment. He drank suddenly. Spread. Advertisement. Don't get tainted. Kaido's eyes were deep, reminding the crowd behind him. During the conversation, the flame in Qinglong Kaido's mouth gradually subsided. At this moment, he clearly recognized the gap between him and Gawen in the fire element. But, he won't just sit still, he's the Four Emperors Kaido after all. Without any hesitation, the huge steaming mouth opened again, and Qinglong's cheeks bulged wildly. Quote exclamation mark quote. A large number of wind blades spit out from his mouth like a weasel-like slash. Then, with a swiftness that could uncover his ears, he rushed towards Gawen's direction. Hoo! The howling wind blade directly blew away and cut Gawen's flames. Although the fire element cannot match Gawen. But Kaido's power system is more than that, Feng De Huo. Compared to playing with fire. He is better with the wind. Do you want me to do it? The other side. Facing this sudden change, Artoria also had a deep expression. At this moment, there are many emotions in her heart. She actually doesn't have much information about Kaido. In other words, she didn't bother to check the information at all. But, the current situation seems to be very unfavorable to Gawen. Although she is very confident about Gawen's flame. Even if it is water or ice, she will not feel the slightest worry. But the opponent might be a strong wind element, so Gawen was restricted to a certain extent. No, my king. To this extent, it has no effect on me. Quote. Gawen at the side heard King Arthur's worry, shook his head and laughed. Advertisement. The corner of the grinning mouth, Tianfan's self-confidence. It was as if everything was under his control. Seeing this, Artoria also shook her head and laughed, speechless. I also secretly thought that I was worrying too much. You must know that Gawen is among the top 15 in the combat power list. As for Kaido, it doesn't even have a list. The gap in hard power cannot be made up by attribute restraint at all. However, Gawen's confident words reached Kaido's ears. Kaido frowned suddenly. He felt underestimated. This feeling is very bad for him. Sun Gawen, the god of noon. What about storms, thunderstorms? Kaido grinned and said quietly. Under the calm words, there is anger in the shadows. During the conversation, turning into a huge green dragon, he slowly, Denuo Jiao, began to spin from the air. Its speed is also getting faster and faster. Haha, you can try. Even in a harsh environment, the hard power gap between us still exists. Gao Wen laughed loudly. Then the holy sword of the sun with flames was swung again. Humph. Kaido snorted coldly, his expression firm. The dragon body made a circular motion like a top, and kept approaching Gao Wen's direction. Hoo! As the speed of rotation becomes faster and faster. The mighty wind is rising. Several huge tornadoes visible to the naked eye are slowly forming. For this natural disaster, which is like a natural disaster, how do you deal with it? Gao Wenju. Kaido looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction, and grinned, with a playful look on his face. He is extremely confident in his move, which is comparable to a natural disaster. 124. The ignorant Kaido, the power above the tyranny. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. He believes that no one can survive this move. At the same time, Kaido, who turned into a blue dragon, roared angrily. Dragon chant resounds. The sound fell, and the sky suddenly turbulent. In the blink of an eye, it is like changing faces in Sichuan opera, and the sky was boundless just a moment ago. Now, dark clouds, lightning and thunder. Tornado bad wind. Knights of the Round Table, let lousy see your strength. Kaido, the circling and spinning green dragon, bulged out his eyes and roared. Layers of blood streaked up his animal eyes, indicating his anger at this moment. Voice down. Everyone in Wano Kuni, without exception, put down their hands. He looked in the direction of Onijima with a face full of horror. The Red Sheath 9 heroes, all of them gasped, their faces full of disbelief. Hiss. Is this Kaido's true strength? This is simply a natural disaster. There is no way for manpower to compete with it. Denjiro swallowed involuntarily, his face full of astonishment. The 917 Shiraboy on the side is also unprecedentedly solemn at this moment, looking up at the change of the natural environment with a solemn face. Hisong felt chills all over his body, and the hand holding the blade was trembling uncontrollably at this moment. Even the Red Sheath 9 heroes felt a sense of crisis and pressure. Not to mention the group of ordinary Wanokuni warriors behind them, they were already scared out of their wits at this moment. The fear of being dominated by Kaido decades ago. This moment, once again looming over their hearts. The other side, Gao Wen, who stopped in place, couldn't help but frown. Advertisement. Without him, under Kaido's one-pass operation, he felt that the strength in his body was passing away rapidly. His strength can actually be said to be a double-edged sword. He is inherently gifted with the boon of the sun, and his physical strength increases or decreases according to the time of day and the position of the sun. And it's growing exponentially. But now that the natural climate has been changed and the sun's rays are limited, the impact on him is not insignificant. But, that's all. Gawen narrowed his eyes slightly and exhaled slowly. I made up my mind and decided not to make any reservations. Whispering, he placed the blade across his chest. This sword is a duplicate of the sun. The yang flame of the purifying flame that burns away all impurities. Puchi, Puchi. The raging fire was attached to the holy sun sword in Gawen's hand again. The holy sword of the stars, with all its pretense gone, to disperse the darkness of night in front of this brilliance. Rotating the sword of victory. Excalibur Gallatin. Accompanied by Gawen's gentle singing. The treasure that belongs to the heroic spirit is finally completely liberated. Immediately, the endless flame suddenly appeared, and the moisture in the air was directly evaporated. Even at sea level, it was unexpectedly affected by this heat flow, and traces of hot air rose up. Retreat, retreat. Everyone retreats to the interior of the island and retreats a few kilometers away. This heat is beyond the tolerance of ordinary people. At the same time, Denjiro also reacted, shouting and commanding the group of warriors behind him. Advertisement. Even under the influence of this scorching heat at this moment, his voice seemed a little hoarse, but he didn't flinch in the slightest. Kaido on the other side. Looking at the monstrous flames, my heart couldn't stop beating wildly. He didn't expect that the opponent would attack like this when he came up. Caught off guard, the fire directly tore his wind blade and landed on him. Drink. A piercing pain and scorching heat directly made him groan in pain. You must know that he is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. What he is most confident about is his defensive power. But under the flames, his entire dragon body. It turned out to be burning. The fire embers that are closer to Kaido. There is even a smell of roasted meat. The expression under Jin's mask is unpredictable. But the trembling tone made Jack and Quinn on the side understand, Jin's heart was not at peace at the moment. Jin, can the boss survive this move? Jack endured the scorching heat, took a step forward, and came to Jin's side, and said worriedly. At this moment, the arrogance in his heart was gone. Just put it so far away. He even felt the threat of death. Not to mention Kaido, who was facing the damage at the moment. I think it should be okay. After all, Master Kaido, at this moment, he is not serious yet. You must know that the boss in human form is the serious form. Fatty Quinn shook his head and retorted. Although he didn't have much confidence in his heart, he was also in the Beast's Pirates camp. Advertisement. I can only choose to trust my boss. If the boss of the family can't do it, then what awaits them will be doomed. And, Kaido, who was facing the attack, narrowed his eyes slightly. Dazzling, like the heat of the sun, even he couldn't look directly at it. This moment, he deeply realized the strength of the Knights of the Round Table. Do not choose to have any reservations. If you keep going, death awaits him. Thunder 8 trigrams. Without the slightest hesitation, black and red lightning wrapped around his body. Instantly transforms into a human form, with Conqueror's Haki wrapped around the mace. Smash it hard. However, although it worked. But, the effect is still negligible. After only blocking it for half a moment, that monstrous flame pushed up his body. What? It was Kaido, who was shocked again this time. He even used Conqueror's Coil. Still can't stop his attack. What kind of power is this? It can't be Devil Fruit's power at all. And there is no Haki attached to it either. Then why even the Conqueror's entanglement can't stop its power? Kaido looked more solemn than ever. His brain is a bit down. This power system from the otherworld, which belongs to the heroic spirits alone, made him fall into doubt. 125. Thrilling people, King Arthur wants to end in person. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Haki. That's just a weak power system. In the face of absolute strength, it is vulnerable. Gawen, who was standing below, also heard Kaido's surprise at this moment, and taunted him. Crazy. Extremely arrogant. To outsiders, it can definitely be said to be crazy to the limit. This sentence was said by Gawen of the Knights of the Round Table. It's also suitable. After all, I don't know Haki at all. But hanging up the four emperors Kaido is really hanging up. At this moment, the energy of his sun sword directly pushed Kaido to the sky thousands of meters. On the other side, Kaido, who was already annoyed, failed to get a hit. Hearing this, the anger couldn't stop rising, and even the hands trembled with anger. But fortunately, although he was angry, his reason was still there. He did not choose to respond to Gawen, but focused on the offensive in front of him. You can only activate the human beast form. Kaido narrowed his eyes slightly, and made a decision in his heart instantly. Human form. One Piece World Zone Devil Fruit can only be advanced by advanced developers. This level is also the zone form that strong people like to use very much. After all, the human beast form not only has the dexterous and fast movement of the human form, but also has the various attacks of the beast form. It is the strongest form of zone, and it is also a balanced form that is very suitable for battle. And Kaido is the zone of the phantom beast species. Advertisement. In this state, his strength is at its peak. David Thunder 8 trigrams. Without the slightest sloppiness, the form-shifting Kaido swung the mace again. However, this time the power on it is even more terrifying, and the power of the whole body is gathered a little. Speed, power are the ultimate hits. If Mubai were here, he would definitely recognize this move. This trick is the move that hit Luffy hard in Gear 5. Conqueror's Haki Entwined Ultimate and Fruit Ability Development Ultimate, a power that cannot be achieved without one. Finally, under this blow, the terrifying to the ultimate sun-like Yang Yan finally deviated from the trajectory. Rubbed Kaido's cheek and threw it into the sky. Avoided. Gawen, who was standing below, narrowed his eyes slightly, not sure to know. In his mind, after liberating the treasure, he is almost invincible in this world. You must know that his sword is comparable to King Arthur's sun sword. 18. The corners of flames in the air all indicated that his attack was dodged. Although not resolved. It's just barely dodging. But this also surprised Gawen. Jian Duo is just a weakling who even made it to the gold list. According to his estimation, the opponent should be killed with one blow. The current situation was something she had never imagined. That's right, dodged. Artoria on the side also confirmed with a slightly dignified expression. Advertisement. Naturally, she was secretly amazed in her heart, although Kaido changed the natural climate and weakened part of Gawen's power. But he was able to survive Gawen's attack. It was already far beyond her expectations, which made her have to re-examine Kaido's strength. Gawen, leave this guy to me. I always feel that he still retains some strength. The 3 disasters of the beast's pirates are entrusted to you to deal with. The task entrusted by the Lord must not be missed. Artoria thought about it, but decided to do it herself. If it was the past, she would not mind handing Kaido over to Gawen to deal with. After all, the strengths of Gawen and Kaido are vastly different. But, now, in order to ensure that the task assigned by the master is perfect, she will not give the other party a chance to breathe. Any possibility that exists, she will kill it in the cradle. As her voice fell, the whole battlefield is silent. Everyone put down what they were doing and looked at Artoria, all of them were shocked. They won't despise Artoria just because she's a girl. This is the 11th on the gold list, the existence above I am. Hearing this, my heart tightened, and my face turned ashen. For the beast's pirates, it must be a devastating blow and disaster for them. Kaido sighed comfortably. Hiss. Kaido fell to the ground, turned his head to look at Jack and shouted orders. Just its subordinates. Go to the sea and get me some water to cool Lousy down. Now this is Gawen, if the guy called my king makes a move. Then it inserted the elephant's trunk into the sea level and absorbed it crazily. Advertisement. The beast's pirates on Ghost Island are completely dumbfounded. It's really raising soldiers for 1,000 days, and using them for a while. Pills. They are extremely curious about this unfathomable existence. The hairs all over their bodies suddenly sprouted, and they couldn't stop swallowing saliva frantically. And listening to Kaido's angry tone, it was obvious that he was not seriously injured. He was in a good mood. At the same time, the people in the Wano camp couldn't hold back their curiosity and set their sights on King Arthur. Come back to life. Seeing that Kaido landed safely, Jack couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He is the king of those members of the Knights of the Round Table in top 15, top 10. It really doesn't give you a chance to breathe. Okay, boss. At this time, Kaido avoided Gawen's offensive. Jack, Zero looking for flowers. The defensive power she has always been proud of has become a joke. Even some timid ones have already started to look around, looking for opportunities to escape secretly. How can this not be shocking and shocking? Then poured it on Kaido's body. It's really refreshing. Sun Knight Gawen almost killed their boss, 4 Emperors Kaido. This existence is about to make a move. After answering the sound, accompanied by a burst of shaking, it reminded that a huge mammoth appeared. The war has just begun. At this moment, his whole body was steaming, and even had scorched marks. And the other side. 126. The 13 restraints are liberated, and the round table resolution begins. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Kaido, who recovered, looked coldly and looked at Artoria with burning eyes. The one who uttered wild words just now is the leader of the Knights of the Round Table. King Arthur. A strong man of your level, why did you declare war on us beasts pirates? We beasts pirates have nothing against you, have we? Kaido narrowed his eyes slightly, expressing the doubts in his heart these days. For this King Arthur, he did not dare to have the slightest contempt or carelessness. He is well aware of the unfathomable strength of the opponent, and it is very likely that he cannot compete. But Kaido has his own arrogance. Even if he loses, he will not run away. You and I have no enmity, everything is the Lord's intention. But since I came to Wano, I've seen what you've done. My mind has changed. I will kill you, 860, here, and give Wano peace. As the monarch of a country, you are incompetent and treat your people as worthless. As a monarch, I have the obligation to save Wano-kuni from the fire and water. Artoria came to the opposite of Kaido, and instead of rushing to launch an offensive, she satisfied Kaido's curiosity. He waved his hand and explained. The Lord's intention. That, top one's Mubai, but I have no grievances or enmities with him. After Kaido heard this, his complexion became even more livid. He just feels very aggrieved now. One or two want him to die. They are all the bigwigs on the gold list and combat power list. The point is that he and these bigwigs have never had any intersection. How could he not be frustrated? That's none of your worries. Whoever the Lord wants to die, no one can survive the fifth watch. And also, who told you to call the Lord by his name? As Artoria spoke, her complexion became gloomy, and her tone was extremely cold. Advertisement. The murderous intent in the eyes couldn't stop venting out, Kaido who was watched by this gaze. Suddenly, I felt the hairs on my back trembling uncontrollably. Kaido shook his head, his complexion became more and more gloomy. Well, it's not something I worry about. It's a good one. Whoever the Lord wants to die, no one can survive the fifth watch. Is that the way that guy does things? Kaido's face was cold, and his heart couldn't help but feel positive. Even though he is cruel and bloodthirsty, he couldn't help feeling a little bit emotional at this moment. This Mubai means, it can be described as hundreds of times crueler than him. But, King Arthur, one thing, you may have miscalculated. You misjudged your own strength. Or you guys misjudged my strength. Although I didn't make the list, it doesn't mean that my strength is not as good as yours. When Kaido said this, the corners of his mouth split open, revealing a playful look. He still has a whole card. A whole card that shocks the world. Oh, when Artoria heard this, she hesitated slightly, a little surprised. He tilted his head, and then asked with some uncertainty. Have you made a breakthrough in your strength recently? But, even so, it won't change the fact that you are dying. Artoria was not surprised, she had guessed about it the moment Kaido chose to fight. But her existence at this level, he is extremely confident in his own strength. Advertisement. No matter how strong Kaido is, she still feels nothing to fear. You know, her combat strength can be said to be at the level of destroying the world. In the true sense of the world-destroying level, if she goes all out. I'm afraid that the entire pirate world will perish. Even if Kaido achieves a substantial improvement, the gap in strength between the two sides will not be narrowed. Humph. Hear the contempt of the other party. Kaido finally couldn't contain the anger in his heart and snorted coldly. The momentum of the whole body is condensed crazily. A phantom in the shape of a dragon slowly takes shape. Attached behind it, that's the Azure dragon possession. Oh, interesting. This power, your strength is indeed enough to be on the list. But there is still a very long distance from our Knights of the Round Table. Artoria was locked by this energy, but her face was still calm, and even the corners of her mouth were raised, mocking. Point 0. Damn, I must make you understand how ridiculous and ignorant your conceit is. Hearing that, Kaido's complexion became even colder, and he even had some breath. The opponent's contempt over and over again made him wish to step forward and punch the opponent. But the remaining sliver of rationality made him calm down. Losing his mind during the battle would be a very fatal thing. Although Kaido has always been called a reckless man by the world, he is not stupid, he is obviously the type of great wisdom and foolishness. Humph. You misunderstood one thing. It's not me who is conceited. It's you who've been standing in front of me instead of kneeling down. Artoria's face was majestic, and the aura that belonged exclusively to the king was also released at the same time. Advertisement. Base. While speaking, she also slowly pulled out the long blade at her waist. That dazzling and extraordinary holy sword. It seems. There are still plenty of people in this world who are as conceited as you. All right. Artoria's expression was gloomy, and she spoke slowly. I have a decision in my heart. She wants to maintain the majesty of the Lord Mubai. And the best way, 0.2 is incomparable. The power to destroy heaven and earth. The 13 shackles are liberated, and the round table resolution begins. Serious, majestic, stable, and majestic words came out of her mouth. A majestic voice. Now, resounding all over the world. The entire pirate world suddenly fell into unprecedented turmoil. Everyone put down what they were doing at the same time, and looked around in surprise. I want to find the origin of this voice. But all to no avail. This voice, just like the will of the world, it is not like the sound that people can make. This method, could it be the gold list? This moment. People all over the world have doubts in their hearts. 127. Enel. It's too dangerous down there, but luckily Lousy is on the moon. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Wano-kuni. After Gawen heard Artoria's words, his expression couldn't stop being horrified. Denjiro behind him also found a clue at this time. Finally couldn't bear the curiosity in my heart, stepped forward and asked. Your Excellency Gawen, this is. Denjiro looked puzzled. At this time, the Knights of the Round Table decided. Gawen had a serious expression on his face. Without hiding anything, he opened his mouth and said. On the other hand, Denjiro, who heard this, looked even more astonished. A group of Red Sheath 9 heroes looked at each other in blank dismay. They had never seen the gentle Gawen with such a dignified expression. Even when the war started, facing Kaido, Gawen always looked calm and calm. But at the moment, it is more serious than ever. The decision of the Knights of the Round Table. A meeting. Why is there a meeting? Besides, all the members of the Knights of the Round Table are in Wano except for your excellency. Denjiro still didn't understand, and continued to ask. Gawen shook his head and patiently explained. The strength of King Arthur is beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Especially the holy sword in King Arthur's hand, the sword in the stone, which has a world-destroying level 20 power. If you activate the power in it at will, the whole world will be destroyed at any time. So we set up constraints. 13 restraints, which means the 13 Knights of the Round Table. With the approval of half and more than half of the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur can release her power. The reason why I feel dignified is also because I didn't expect my king to use this power just for Kaido. Gawen frowned, and he also had doubts in his heart. According to his judgment, if King Arthur faced Kaido, that would be a crushing power gap. King Arthur can easily kill the opponent without releasing the treasure. Advertisement. And now the Round Table meeting starts. Apparently there is an ulterior motive. This is the reason for his dignified. Hearing this, the Red Sheath 9 heroes looked at each other again. What Gawen said was really beyond their expectations. And it's too shocking to the world. Especially Gawen said such words that shock the world with a calm face. However, don't wait for them to continue to be shocked. The situation on the field changed again. I saw that it seemed to be above the sky, and it seemed to be in their minds. One after another, strange voices rang out. Such methods are so terrifying. Open Shiki to remove the second stage of restrictions. A battle of right and wrong with elves, admit it. A masculine male voice resounded. Do not fight against those who are stronger than yourself, Vito. A young voice sounded, and one could infer that its purpose was handsome. It's fighting for a living, admit it. It's a battle against humanity, admit it. It's for fighting for truth, admitting. I don't know where it came from, words resounded in this world one after another. The other side. Gawen, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke at this time. For the battle of honor, admit. Open Shiki to remove the third stage restrictions. It's a fight to maintain the majesty of the Lord, admit it. Finally, Artoria's face was serious, and she pronounced the verdict. The voice fell. Advertisement. Under Kaido's stunned gaze, endless power was released. This moment, Kaido on the opposite side feels the breath of Shinigami. In this case, your true strength can also be liberated. Sword of promised victory. Artoria stared at the holy sword in her hand and murmured. The world has always believed that the sword of the oath of victory is very powerful. But what they don't know is that it is just the power under the multi-layer restriction. And the completely liberated holy sword. Enough to destroy the planet. Thinking of this, she didn't hesitate at all. Point the blade at Kaido. At this moment, Kaido's eyes couldn't stop bulging, and he wanted to escape crazily. Rao as the 4 emperors, at this moment. They all couldn't stop their hearts beating wildly, unable to raise the slightest thought of resistance. But how could Artoria let the other party escape? Sword of promised victory. Excalibur. Endless golden light vented out. With just a moment of thought, Kaido was directly affected by this irresistible force. Through the body. Then got jacked up. In an instant, he lost consciousness. His huge body passed through the clouds and the atmosphere. Planet surface. Is this the Knights of the Round Table? The moon hanging high in the sky was cut with a gap. This level of strength. What level is the Shinigami and the 7th universe forces above it? Vegapunk looked horrified, and put down his work. The consequences are unimaginable. Advertisement. Accompanied by a loud bang. Is this the Knights of the Round Table above Akatsuki? The people in Pirate World who witnessed the whole process were all blinded, their mouths were long and they couldn't speak a word for a long time. Some people in the world may not know the meaning of the moon, but as a genius scientist, he knows the key point. This moment, that light beam just now, can't it be the power of devil fruit? But, does it look dead? This is obviously beyond his cognition. If the moon is wiped out, cut a gap in the moon above the sky. The sea is really too dangerous. Fortunately, I came to the moon. Everyone reacted at this time. Then his mouth opened wide, and his legs trembled uncontrollably. Is this 567 the power that humans can possess? At this moment, people all over the world reacted. May Naval Headquarters, now the research room. Enel's expression was strange, looking at the dead Kaido who couldn't die anymore, he fell into self-doubt. The eyes couldn't stop bulging. Marineford. And on the moon. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. There was also a sound of surprise. Is this just a combat force that ranks outside the top 10? At this moment, his cognition is being overthrown over and over again. Boom. Vegapunk murmured in disbelief. Someone has actually reached the moon. Fortunately, it's just a gap. King Arthur's power. 128. Marine public opinion. Kaido may not be dead. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At the same time. New World G1, Naval Headquarters. At this moment, all Marine high-level executives gathered at the pier in unison. One by one, they looked up at the changes in the sky. Looking at each other, dumbfounded. Is this still the power that humans can possess? The old man looks really old. Garp's face was silent and bitter. Yeah, it looks like the new generation really belongs to the world now. We have really become the remnants of the old days. Sengoku also looked complicated, and echoed. Words fall. Marshal Aokiji, Kizaru, and Green Bull all had strange expressions on their faces. The world of the new generation. You told me that the Knights of the Round Table are the new generation. Those are obviously old monsters who don't know how many thousand years they have lived. After all, they are immortal bodies. It must have bypassed the lifespan limit. It actually opened a gap directly in the moon. This old man is really amazing. I don't know if Kaido can survive this attack. Fujitora, who has no pupils but only the whites of his eyes, smiled and was fully aware, trying his best to perceive the situation on the moon. Although it was a bit difficult for him, his highest record was nothing more than an extraterrestrial meteorite. Still some distance from the moon. Survive. Fujitora Admiral, don't think highly of Kaido, even though he is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. Advertisement. But I believe no one will survive this blow. That was a blow that directly lifted the atmosphere and left a gap in the moon. The Green Bull shook his head, sneering at Fujitora's suspicion of a smile. However, his voice just fell. Kizaru on the side then exited again and interrupted. Scary. 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 I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm really going to die this time. Except for the top 10 on the gold list, those guys, I'm afraid no one in this world can take over such an offensive. This is the power above I am, the Lord of the Celestial Dragons. Kizaru murmured with horror on his face. This time, he was really scared. If I'm Slash can touch the gold list, then the Slash of the Knights of the Round Table is very likely to wipe out the gold list. For no reason, such thoughts suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. Okay, wrong. However, just when everyone was amazed and deeply moved, Fujitora burst into surprise with a smile. I saw the unstoppable horror on his face. There are people on the moon. This breath is very weak. But there are people. Right at the gap, a series of exclamations came out of his mouth. In an instant, everyone present stopped talking, and turned their heads suddenly to look at Kuo-jo with a smile. Anyone, Fujitora Admiral, don't make jokes like that. Advertisement. Aokiji shook his head, retorting. Fujitora Admiral, you mean? Your knowledge and knowledge have been cultivated to the point where you can perceive the moon. Don't be kidding me. Kizaru also disagreed at this time, with a strange look on his face. You mean Kaido isn't dead? Sengoku asked with a serious expression on his face. Although he also doesn't believe what Fujitora said with a smile. However, as the resourceful general, he has a one-sided understanding of Fujitora's talent for being knowledgeable with a smile. Able to lock onto meteorites in outer space and use the fruit's ability to pull them down. So it doesn't seem very far from the moon, does it? However, the next moment, Sengoku's expression couldn't stop being terrified. It was only because under his wise eyes, Fujitora smiled and nodded solemnly as usual. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. That guy Kaido isn't dead. Could it be that? The awakening of the Phantom Beast has broken through the limitations of the human body, has the defense reached a level that we cannot understand. Sengoku said in disbelief with a horrified expression. Voice down. All the powerhouses around were completely dumbfounded. The amount of information in this conversation is not insignificant. Listening to Sengoku's tone, Fujitora's knowledgeable smile, is it really possible to explore the moon? This was already terrifying enough to frighten the world. In the second half of Sengoku's words, Kaido's awakening made them even more dumbfounded. There has never been a precedent for the awakening of phantom beasts. The phantom beast itself is superior to other fruits. Also comes with a characteristic ability. Advertisement. Rare than Logia, this thing is awakened. That is unbelievable. Ever since the Jinbang came into the world structure has really changed every day. At this moment, Aokiji, who Yanran has been promoted to marshal, has a bitter expression on his face, full of emotion. Just one Akatsuki organization is enough to give Marine a headache. Now the strength of the Knights of the Round Table makes him completely unable to arouse the will to fight and the idea of fighting. The difference in this is too big. Kaido that guy. It is very likely that it is really ahead of other emperors. Garp shook his head, also full of emotion. Front of the other 4 emperors. What do you mean? Is he now stronger than Red Hair? Crane Vice Admiral shook his head, not agreeing with his old companion Garp. Red Hair. No matter how powerful the Red Hair is, it's impossible for Wang Haohao to survive this blow, come on. The Green Bull shook his head with a puzzled expression. Although he deeply admires the wisdom of Crane Vice Admiral. But he didn't agree with this. He didn't believe that the strength of red hair could be stronger than that of Kaido. After all, Kaido survived the blow after Sengoku's analysis. Do not. The power of Conqueror's Haki is beyond our comprehension. Conqueror's Haki is the most mysterious and deceitful power system in the world. As for Roger, the redhead is promoted to the ranks of the strong by relying on him. And the redhead is the man with the title of Conqueror's Strongest. His strength is the most unfathomable existence among 4 emperors. It's a pity that the gold list was exposed before, and one of the red-haired arms was lost to East Blue. Otherwise, it would definitely be a big threat to Marine. Crane Vice Admiral shook his head and explained to the new generation of Marines. 129. Nika exposed, incompetent and furious I am. Previous chapter. Advertisement. However, Mubai also received a system prompt at the same time. Knights of the Round Table. Character completion progress 80%. It seems that we will soon enter the final stage. Mubai looked at the light blue system interface that only he could see, the corners of his mouth curled up. At this moment, he is in a good mood. As for the moon being opened a gap, it is likely to affect the ecological environment of this world. 18. What does it matter to him? Next, in a few days, the mission rewards of the Knights of the Round Table will be available, right? Akatsuki seems to be urging them to move quickly. Mubai slid the system panel, talking to himself constantly. My heart became more and more excited, and I came to this world. It can be said that he has been around for too long. Rao is the system's novice gift package, giving him a strong background. But those are actually false. Open the system panel. Bored Mubai, just opened the personal panel. Long lost. He couldn't remember how long he hadn't checked his panel. Open black lens bracket host. Mubai close black lens bracket. Ability. Emperor's privilege derived from the novice gift package, inherits the privilege of the Emperor of the Kingdom of God, has unparalleled leadership, and military strategy, is the only one who dominates the world. And possesses the imperial power of self-respect, which can cause substantial damage to the enemy. It is also possible to utter the Emperor's words, and the sound shakes the universe and goes straight to the sky. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket skills. Imperial power, imperial words, top observation Haki, top armament Haki, top conquerors Haki. Listen to the voice of all things, 723 conquerors winding, emission. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket strength rating. See minor achievement close black lens bracket. Affiliated forces. 7th Universe, Soul Society, Knights of the Round Table, Shang. Close black lens bracket. Tasks to be completed. 7th Universe 0%, Soul Society 0%, Knights of the Round Table 80%, Shout 40%. Close black lens bracket. Strength rating. Finally, I have risen a level from the weakest D. As far as my current strength is concerned, at least it is at the 4 Emperors level. Mubai glanced at the system panel, and the corners of his mouth couldn't stop curling up. That's right, his own strength is actually only at the level of 4 Emperors. But the gold list ranked him in TOP1, which Mubai did not expect. He guessed. But even Jinbang doesn't believe that he is not strong because he holds the 4 major powers in his hand. After Jinbang's investigation, maybe he thinks that his hidden strength means are superb, and he has deceived Jinbang. Although the reward of the gold list made him very happy. But what he values more is the system's mission rewards. Advertisement. The rewards of the system can be called divine skills. The Emperor's privilege of the novice spree, although it can be said to be very tasteless. But it is precisely because of this skill that he was able to step by step, layer by layer, and get to where he is today. And the mission rewards are different from the novice gift packs. Every time you complete a faction mission, he can directly choose an ability to inherit directly from that world. This is terrifying, and it is much more powerful than the gold list rewards. The power system of the pirate is definitely not weak. But compared with the power system of Dragon Ball and Heroic World, there are still some gaps. Yes, the mission of the Knights of the Round Table is complete. He can be said to be invincible in the true sense. As for what ability to choose, at this moment, he already had the answer in his heart. At the same time, the golden list above the sky once again bloomed with golden light. This golden light without warning frightened all the powerhouses in Pirate World. They see the golden light now. Artificially, the Knight of the Round Table made another move. If this is the case, I am afraid that the entire moon will be wiped out, and then it will be the real doomsday. However, fortunately, this golden light is no stranger to everyone. The ranking of the gold list has arrived. For a while, the whole pirate world boiled up again. The strength of the Tianxia organization and the strength of the Knights of the Round Table. Everyone has seen it, and has a deep understanding. But if you want to surpass them, hard work alone will not work. It also depends on the reward of the gold list. As for the talent list, the comparison is not about combat power, but about potential. This thing is invisible, intangible, and mysterious. So much so that even some of the weak became self-confident. Open black lens bracket talent list, officially announced. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket top 20. Straw Hat Pirates, Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket nicknamed Straw Hat. Luffy is Straw Hat Crew, the captain of the Straw Hat pirate ship, one of the most evil generations. Rubber fruit, human fruit, phantom beast, Nika form, ability person. And upgrade his moves in constant battles. He can fight in any way, no matter where he goes, he can make people smile. Nika is the warrior of liberation, also known as Nika the sun god. Close black lens bracket. The man of the D family who inherited the will of Joyboy, Joey Boy, has the power of the sun god comparable to the sun. Close black lens bracket. Comprehensive evaluation. Because of dreams, I choose a distant place, because I have no one to rely on, I must be strong. Close black lens bracket. Rewards for ranking 15 to 20, Conqueror's Haki power increase. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. With the exposure of the gold list, the entire pirate world once again fell into unprecedented turmoil. Joey Bowie, advertisement. Sun God, Nika, liberation fighters. Isn't Luffy a rubber fruit? Why, CADC, has become a phantom beast again. For a while, countless doubts lingered in the hearts of everyone in pirate world, and they could not be dispelled for a long time. Just because too much information was exposed on the gold list. But together, they are very strange. It can be said that none of them understand the above introduction. Except that they understand that the one on the list is Luffy, who was a frequent guest on the actor list before. Holy Land Mariajoy. Between flowers. I am of the Void Throne stared at the information exposed by the gold list. At this moment, she couldn't calm down either. Things that she didn't want to see happened one after another. The world is gradually getting out of her control at this moment. This is intolerable to him. Joey Bowie. It's already dead, so don't disturb our worldly affairs. Im's face was extremely gloomy, and he obviously had a deep understanding of Joey Boy. And below her throne, 5 old men, neatly lined up, they knelt on the ground firmly, and even buried their entire faces on the floor. The bright face of the world government, 5 elders. Everyone is here now. The reason they were originally there was to receive a notice from Lord I Am about discussing the Knights of the Round Table. What they didn't expect was that before the matter of the Knights of the Round Table came to fruition, the exposure of the gold list would arrive. And its first list. It made the 5 elders tremble uncontrollably. The information on it is related to the notice of the world government. Liberation fighters, Joey Boy's prowess. Everyone here knows better than anyone. Master I Am, that should only be Joey Boy's will, and it shouldn't be Joey Boy's present life. W. The exposure of the gold list also refers to the fruit of everyone, the phantom beast species, and the form of Nika. It's just the Straw Hat Boy who awakened Joey Boy's will and inherited a certain degree of power. The old man holding a samurai sword said cautiously. However, advertisement. His voice just fell. An incomparable, suffocating air mechanism locked him. In an instant, he lowered his head again, his heart tightened, and he stopped talking. It was interrupted by a roar. Here's another Joey Boy. Thinking of this, she once again set her sights on the 5 elders kneeling below. This air mechanism came from the existence above the Void Throne. The source of his anger is. It's the resurrection of Joey Boy. Only because. I Am looked dignified and speculated. In addition to Mubai exposed on the gold list, and its forces. Rao, the monster I Am who didn't know how long she had lived, was also trembling with anger at this moment. She felt unprecedented anger at this moment. After so many years, Rubber Fruit has not awakened. Damn. And Luffy at the moment is Joey Boy, and any boy is Luffy. He will never rest assured that he will hand over the initiative of his body to others. He must ring the drum of liberation himself. I know Joey Boy all too well. Why Luffy is Rubber Fruit? I am still alive in this world right now. Why haven't these threats been eradicated? At this moment, there was a hint of anger in her heart. Under this captivating gaze, the 5 elders all felt inexplicable pressure. Im's face was cold, obviously very displeased. This moment. The 5 elders couldn't help but trembled. Grunt. So we didn't shoot Luffy. However, what else is 5 elders going to explain? This is definitely not a simple awakening of will. To know the real name of Rubber Fruit, the 5 elders below can be well known by night vision. After awakening, Luffy must have 2 souls living in his body. Is this what you do when I give you the highest power in the world? The redhead of the 4 emperors approached us to discuss. You guys underestimated Joey Boy. Blackbeard, Vivi, Enel.